Minister for Interior in the previous Parliament and the previous government. Now he's been nominated again as the Minister for Interior. Is there anything else you want to share with us apart from what I've related, which are all in your CV anyway?
Honorable Chairman, I have nothing else to add except to say that it's an honor to appear before you to answer questions and hopefully be
very well. Reverend, yes, I'm starting with you. No, sorry, I agreed that I'll start with Honorable Portray. Yes, Honorable Portray.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Ambrose Dery, congratulations on your nominations as a Minister of the Interior designate.
Thank you.
Honorable nominee, in the security agencies, there is this name or word that comes up called Captivity. Respectfully, what is Captivity? And the follow-up will be, I just want to land them all together. Most of the security personnel have been complaining about captivity. Sometimes they think that it has come to stay, and then sometimes they say government is taking it away from them. So what is captivity, and what assurances would you give the committee when you are giving the nod that indeed captivity has come to stay and will take care of all the personnel among the security and architecture?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Captivity is one system of pension remuneration, and the law has been that except the Ghana Armed Forces, after some period of time, which is almost near, agencies were supposed to move on to the Senate and other pension systems. When I was privileged to be Minister for the Interior, as part of the welfare package for the agencies, security agencies under the Ministry of the Interior, we thought that this was one area that we could maintain the security agencies, namely the police, immigration, fire service, prison service, and the intelligence agencies on that same captivity. And what happened was that I went to Cabinet approved, and we've now reached a stage where there's supposed to be an amendment of the law, but that law does not operate under the Ministry of the Interior, but under the Ministry of Employment. So, as we heard in the State of the Nation by His Excellency the President, we are firmly maintaining captivity as the pension system on which our security agencies.
Chairman, just clarity from the Minister nominee. Cabinet approved what? And what amendment or what law is to be amended? Just for clarity. Which law?
Well, I don't want to quote the law on pensions.
Act 766?
Yes.
You are very certain about what aspect of the law is to be amended?
No, it was a period of time that was fixed, by which time only the armed forces were going to be left on captivity. So if you don't amend that, then that means that it will lapse and they would have to go to the Senate system.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, so the assurances are that the security agencies or personnel under the security agencies will continue to enjoy captivity.
That's so. With the support of this August House, they would continue to do so. And I have no doubt that the support I got from the
Chairman,
House.
again, clarity. They would enjoy captivity subject to an amendment of a law, or they would enjoy captivity. They are not the same. They are two different statements. They will enjoy captivity, as I heard you, subject to an amendment of a law. Is that the case?
That is so, and the law is going to be amended. One of the major
Chairman.
things that we have to do timelessly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair, name first.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable nominee, I want to go into two areas. The first one has to do with recruitment. Under the policy of transparency and openness as far as recruitment into the various security services are concerned, various governments have tried to modify the recruitment process with the recent e-recruitment platform. But the one key aspect of recruitment over these years is the advertisement of recruitment by the various security services. I personally have noted with some apprehension the number of times that we've heard recruitments being done by the security services during the past 4 years without any form of advertisement. Can you tell me, on page 4 of your handover notes, you've noted that 9,860 personnel have been recruited in the various security services. At what times were these people recruited? Was it advertised? If it was advertised, which sort of medium was used to advertise for these people to create opportunity for all Ghanaians to apply to enter the security services?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. In 2018, the agencies under the Ministry of the Interior used the e-recruitment system and actually advertised, and the applications were online. The Honorable Member of Parliament, I believe, will recall the outcry, the uproar. The number of applicants so far exceeded the vacancies that were available. Apart from the police, the other agencies were recruiting no more than 1,000. And that led to me being summoned before the Council of State. I appeared before the Council of State, and the Council of State said that they thought that what they saw was indecent, and that if you're going to advertise, you take about 1,000 people, and over 80,000 apply, and most of them having the qualification. They thought it was a ripoff, and therefore they did not think that it was fair for us to continue to repeat that until we have cleared those people who we got, who are qualified, before we can open up again. You will recall that this matter came up, and the various agencies, IGP for the police, Controller General, or others, came and explained that they had a backlog of qualified Ghanaian applicants, and that pursuant to that problem that we had, they continued to recruit from that. Listen, so it is not a deviation from that. In fact, the former chairman for the Parliamentary Subcommittee on Defense and Interior, and I'm sure Honorable Galga will monitored it. And so what we have been doing was to try and make sure that we recruited from that pool that had applied. Of course, that in the next term we will have to start again. But this was a problem that came up, and I went to the Council of State with the commanders, and that was a position that was taken. And this was explained severally in the media over the time. So there is no recruitment under the Ministry of Interior that is any secret. And I need to emphasize that is the agencies which recruit and not the ministry. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, some little bit of laxity here. I want the nominee to explain further. Was it the issue of the police service, which had that over recruitment of all the security agencies. Prison service,
all the security
immigration,
agencies.
fire service.
Fire service was even worse. All the security agencies, and Honorable Chairman, if you want a full report, I can submit it later. All the security agencies. And this, the media had met the various commanders and it was explained to them what had happened.
So after that exercise, there has not been any advertisement for subsequent recruitment.
Being that until they finished again. I don't think that this number that we've taken, maybe I've cleared, but what I do know is that I'm not bound by that sort of decision that was taken in the last term.
Mr. Chairman, my second question. At your last vetting, I remember very well, for this same position, one of the principal issues you talk about was the poor accommodation situation for security personnel. Mr. Nominee, after 4 years, let me say that for the past 3 days, I've spent time going around the various barracks in Accra. There has not been any significant change in the situation of security personnel. In fact, some of the police service personnel are sleeping in the hen-coop structures they live in together with their children and their belongings on the veranda. The same with the prison service. As for the fire service, they don't even have anything you can talk about calling it a barracks. I went to private houses where the police service have rented also as accommodation for personnel. Same situation. The accommodation situation of security personnel in this country is appalling. You promised 4 years ago you were going to do something about it. Tell me, what have you done?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, I promised to do a number of things because the security agencies face a number and a lot of challenges. Accommodation being one of them. But let me tell you the very basic challenge that I met was, first of all, the conditions. We had to introduce rent allowance that was not applicable. One of the first things that I got a shock of was within the first 3 weeks after taking office, I went to the police headquarters for a ceremony. Widows and orphans of police officers who died in the course of duty were at that meeting, and philanthropists, whom I'm grateful to, were giving them 2,000, 3,000. It transpired that there was no system that actually took care of the compensation packages of the agencies across the board. There was also no promotion. People have not been promoted for a long time. We instructed that all should be done, and I can tell you that it has been done. But now coming back to one of the things that I felt really strongly about, which is the package. By the time we had an unfortunate incident at Kwabenya, we had worked out a package where even a lump sum of about 185,000 was going to be payable. We then also wanted to be sure that the compensation package, remuneration packages across the security agencies were equitable. And that led to a number of adjustments. And as I talk to you now, we got just at the end of the year into this year, a 10% kit allowance to apply across board. In that context, there has been some progress. The police had got some projects ongoing with Amandi. But we realized that accommodation, we had to do it with a private partner arrangement. As I talked to you, for instance, immigration has got 84 accommodation units at South Odoko that we are going to commission soon. So yes, what has happened over the 4 years is work in progress for proposals that people are bringing. Finally, the legal framework within which to deal with private public arrangements. And you recall that is the 7th Parliament that passed the law late in the year. So what I can tell you is that the accommodation matter is still an issue. It's work in progress, but to ameliorate the situation, we decided to deal with this rent allowance as a transition. I haven't abandoned anything. I'm going to continue, if approved, to work on this. But I want to tell you that the situation of our security agencies over the years have been rather deplorable, because we have not, as a nation, invested sufficiently. This house has been an ally. Anytime I come to this house, I get the support, and everybody has been supportive to get us to make the progress that we've made so far. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one of the most important aspects of training for security personnel is what we call within their rank, the jacka, meaning their dressing, their appearance. It was almost a taboo to see a policeman wearing beard.
Wearing what?
Beard.
Beard.
Having the hair bushy, hair grown over the... it was almost over the period for the past 4 years. We've seen a new crop of police personnel with beard, some male police personnel wearing earrings, some with tattoos, the ladies with piercings. Is it the police service moving into a contemporary fashion trend, or maintaining the discipline within the service?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, I have to note what you have raised now. By Article 202 Clause 2, operational matters and administration of the police is under the IGP. What I have not found is that there has been deterioration in discipline to the extent that it has interfered with us achieving our goal of making people feel safe in the country. This is a matter I have to raise with him, but like I said, I have not felt any deterioration. On the contrary, I think that the police service is more active now, better trained. We now have a counter-terrorism place in Honya where they go for frequent training, and discipline is one of the things that we installed there. But this is an observation that I will make known to the IGP and see what has been, to be sure that it doesn't go beyond the cosmetic. Thank you.
Chairman, just with your indulgence, you just referred to Article 2022 of the 1992 Constitution, emphasizing the role and responsibility of the Inspector General of Police. But, Chairman, with your indulgence, I quote, "The Inspector General of Police shall be head of the police service and shall," this is my emphasis, "and shall, subject to the provisions of this article and to the control and direction of the Police Council." Police Council. So are you just consulting the IGP, or the council will get involved to appreciate the very issue that the Honorable Milante have raised, whether it's become new for them to depart from known culture of how they dress, how they look, is part of conduct and discipline? If you can respond to that. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, I thought what I said was that I did not, I have not observed that trend. What the council ensures is that there is discipline. And so far, the council has not had any cause to have problems with the discipline that we have in the police service, let alone relating it to growing of beard. The turnout of police is smart, because we are attending to the uniform, challenge that we had and what we've been doing. Maybe I might have seen 1 or 2 police, but I may have made my mind to it. Admittedly, except that is a policy on discipline. But the details, we would need to have the input of the district. I'll raise it at the council, but the IGP would have to tell us what it actually means in their operational matters. I must not, and we must not interfere with it.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations, Honorable Minister nominee. My first question is to do with Sustainable Development Goal 16, which highlights control over crimes and flow of arms. And on that note, may I refer you to Sustainable Development Goal 16, which highlights control over crimes and flow of arms. And to refer you to UNDP report published in October 2020, where they indicate that as of October 2020, 1.1 million illicit weapons and small arms were in circulation in the country. And additionally, out of the 1.2 million registered arms in the country, only 40,000 licenses are renewed annually. Partly, they attribute this phenomenon to porosity of our borders. What would you do, in one given the nod, to address this phenomenon and to ensure that our borders are safeguarded, and also to ensure that the illicit arms that are currently in circulation in the country are clamped on?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. We apply the law on licensing to enable you possess arms or a gun. That we enforce. But beyond that, we have the Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons, which is trying to bring sanity into our country and is marking guns using our national law and also the ECOWAS code on it. They've confiscated a number of unlicensed arms and they've destroyed some. But I believe that we also haven't signed to be the armed, part of the armed treaty. We are working hard on the control list, and the control list has now come to the ministry. We're going to put it in, send it before cabinet, and come to parliament later. So it's a multifaceted approach, and we are trying to enforce the law. It's not an easy thing. It's work in progress. We are going to continue to do that.
Thank you, Honorable Nominee. To my next question, the challenge that principally confronts your sector has been inadequate logistics. But not only that, but also when within the modest means of the state, logistics are made available, the inequitable deployment of those logistics. What would you do to ensure availability of optimum levels of logistics when given the nod, and also to the consequent equitable deployment of those resources and logistics across the various security agencies and also across the various locations, in particular rural areas? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. The past 4 years has seen some improvement in logistical support. Yes, we haven't been able to get it equitably distributed all over, but because we have to consider that we start with the main agency for mental law and order, which is the police. We've got 740 vehicles, various descriptions for them, 179 motorbikes. We know we've introduced different units, new units, and air wing. We've trained 6 pilots who are passed out and back in the country. We've ordered helicopters. The hangar is under construction. We've introduced a K9 unit which deals with dogs, and we also building the capacity of the marine unit with some boats. So across board, yes, we are providing some resources. But we'll be first to admit that we have not done enough yet. If you go to immigration, we have about 100 vehicles there. When you go across to the other agencies, we are playing catch up with them. For instance, prisons can boast about 50, but we are planning to get them more. Fire service, we have with a few. Fire service didn't have the capacity to deal with fire. We're on a 5th floor. We've introduced equipment that we are checking now, which can enhance our capacity to go up to 16 floors and 500 meters beyond that. So it's an ongoing process. Again, the President did make the commitment, made available 800 million Ghana to start the police transformation. This House did approve, and at every stage that will come with budgets here, the House does not only approve but also laments the inadequate funding arrangement that has been put in place, and therefore I continue to rely on the House, and moving forward we would increase that resource allocation and be able to make Ghana a safer place. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Dery. And sorry, oh, sorry. Yes. Yes. Ranking member first.
Honorable Minister nominee, my first question has to do with the wave of crime in our country, and I'd like to confine myself to 2 issues. First is the upsurge in armed robbery cases in our country. This month alone, a number of incidents have been reported, the most disturbing ones being the shooting to death of an ambulance driver who was drafted to transport a pregnant woman from Akuse to the Koforidua Mystery Regional Hospital. He was shot dead. The paramedic on board was raped by the gunmen. Now, if you go to the Upper East region, and you at the Upper East region is your home, the stretch between Tamale and Bolgatanga is not passable these days. In fact, this month, at dawn, on the 13th of February, 2 truck drivers were shot dead around the Pusinamong area. And you are very familiar with the geography of the area. In my own backyard, Sandema, as I speak, in fact, and I should say I speak with a heavy heart, a man who trades in goods and sheep left Sandema for Katu to buy sheep on the last Sandema market day. On his way back, he was accosted by armed robbers and shot dead. I mean, the incidents are numerous to be counted here. But the point I'm trying to make is that there is a clear case of an upsurge in armed robbery cases. Then we talk about communal violence. That is the second issue. The people of Kandiga and Doba have been at war since March last year. What is the response of the Ministry of Interior?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Armed robbery and violent crime is a matter of concern, and we are determined to fight it. Let me start by expressing condolence to all families who have lost their loved ones in the commitment of these offenses. So, like I said, it doesn't matter the number. It's something that we need to deal with seriously. But just to demonstrate that it might not necessarily be an upsurge, because if one criterion doesn't support an upsurge, but that is no excuse. But it's just important that we put matters in context. In January of 2020, the whole country we had robbery, violent crime, 138. This year, 121. But what has happened this year is special. The victims are high-profile victims. This unfortunate incident with the ambulance is most abominable. Ambulances must be safe places when we are conveying our sick to the hospital. Some arrangements have been put in place immediately. As I speak to you, we've deployed patrols and combat patrols along the path. The tomato traders are now escorted. We've deployed along that area, and we have actually moved staff and resources to do something about it. And I can assure you that one of the things we need to work on, we are committed to working on, is a Northern Border Security Project, which is going to actually help us in the northern regions. Because we are going to have immigration now that we are arming. We're going to have different lines for soldiers to support, and the deployment is going to be actually increased. What I must admit is that the criminals change their bodies from time to time, and we need to change. We are introducing by the police. The 10th city concept is being introduced. SNAP checkpoints are also being introduced. But I can assure you that going forward in the next 2-3 weeks, you would find a different scenario. In the case of Dover, that area, when it all started, the first thing we thought we could do was to impose a curfew, which we did. But the demand for curfew hours kept increasing, and we did not think that was the right thing to do. Clearly, we need to site a police station there and increase police deployment there. As we sit down, we were about 33,000 police. 2017, we're about 40,000 police now. The police tell us that they need 10,000 police every year to be able to cope with what is happening. We've moved it to finance. We want to see how many we can deal with that. In that context, the general paucity of police personnel also affects Parliament. Parliament is an Article 71 institution, but all over the years, we have not been able to meet our obligation to make sure that every MP has a bodyguard and a day and night watchman. The number we have here is 124. We'll be needing 800. But all that is work in progress that we are working towards achieving. Having said that, let me also say that there have been some arrests in some of the cases. The one that happened in Obuasi, and we are making progress in all those other ones. I need to thank the populace, security experts, members of Parliament, of course, and the general public for cooperating in all this. We have not lost control, but we are the first to admit that we need to up our game, and we're going to up our game. You soon see a change in personnel that's being reflected, and with it would come some hope. But we need to continue to equip our police, to continue to train them, and once again, we are going to fight them. We are not going to give up.
A follow-up on Dover. Beyond attempting to use law enforcement to curtail the violence there, are you considering the option of using soft options such as bringing the warring parties to a round table to try to foster some peace and unity amongst them?
Thank you, Chairman. We are doing that, but that is led by Peace Council. Peace Council is one of the agencies under the Minister of Interior. The Peace Council is on that course, trying to bring a difference. And I must add that at your corner, we have a paucity of police personnel and other security agencies there, and we will continue to work.
Honorable Minister-designate, there have been calls by well-meaning Ghanaians and some civil society organizations, notably the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, for an independent police complaints commission to be established to deal with complaints that has to do with the police service, whenever the police service are fingered in some form of misconduct in their operational activities or their general relationships with the general public. Now, this particular proposition, according to the proponents, definitely would enhance effective police accountability to the general public. The previous government initiated the attempt to have the Independent Police Complaints Commission established. It's been 4 years. What is your view of the matter?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. We accept that in principle. Actually, the Commonwealth Group met the Police Council, and we are not adverse to that, because we think that there are two ways of enhancing police accountability. First, the internal, which we have within the police, and the external. What we all need to think through is, what form should that independent body take? In the first place, yes, it should be independent of the police, independent of the Ministry of the Interior, yes. But we should work in a way that that body also is accountable. When anything happens under our remit, ministers are called to this house, which is a house most suited to ensure accountability, representing the people. So what we need to work out is, should it be a state institution, such as maybe human rights, or what should it be? We need to work out the legal framework. But we welcome it, because we would want to ensure that we increase police accountability. After all, you have internal audit and external audit. Along those same lines, we are in support of the matter in principle. But I think we need to work together. You have been at the ministry. We would welcome any ideas of seeing how we can put that in place.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Speaker, the first one was a follow-up, so this is my third.
No, after the follow-up,
yes.
You asked this one after the follow-up, and now
this will be the third. That one was a follow-up. The dogger was a follow-up.
Yeah, this what he just finished answering was your third. There's no follow-up from this answer, is there?
Very short.
Very well.
Finally, yes. Honorable nominee, there have been concerns raised by a section of the public that amongst the top echelon of the police service, the top brass, the outfit is now populated by retiree officers who have been granted contracts, or if you like, extension of service in a manner that violates the Constitution. And this violation definitely affects the career progression of senior officers who haven't attained the age of 60 in the service. Is this position true? If it is, how do you intend to deal with it because of its constitutional implications?
Honorable Chairman, thank you very much. First of all, no police officer has stayed beyond 65 years. It is only then that it can be unconstitutional. Secondly, as a policy, we have had people on contract as a transitional arrangement. In the past 6 months, 2 have gone on retirement. It was within the law for us to extend. We have not extended. But you have been there, and we need to look at the example of the military. When you have soldiers who the state has invested in, and they get to a general position, there is a flexible retirement age arrangement there. Brigadiers go at 60, Major Generals go at 63, and Lieutenant Generals go at 65. So it's difficult for you to see officers on contract there. When I came to office as Minister for Interior, the IGP I met was on contract. Understandably so sometimes, because I believe the previous government found a good reason for doing that. So yes, we are not going to clog the place with retirees, no. We will only deal with it now. We are reducing them, and I don't know how many they are, I don't think there are that many. But we are promoting the highest number of deputy commissioners and commissioners, meaning that we are pushing them to get to a stage that they should go on retirement. However, as you know, you've been in the ministry, there was a certain situation, especially a security problem we had since before independence, and a particular officer was dealing with the locals. We were making progress. Then we got representation from the people we were dealing with that they had found good chemistry, and that the program that we had, they had confidence in that particular person. We naturally extended to achieve that goal. So the principle is that we are not going to increase people on contract with a simple caveat, the only caveat being that when the exigencies of the time dictated, we will do so, or will not do so beyond the constitutional limit, and will not do so as a policy to be permanent. No. So let them rest assured that we don't intend clogging and making sure they don't get their promotions. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to the Honorable nominee. We are beginning to notice an increase, and in fact a troubling trend of an increase in police officers who are committing suicide in Ghana. Between January and now, there has been several media reports about police officers committing suicide. What do you think is the cause of this problem, and how will you address it?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. First of all, those remain allegations. Our directive is that let them be thoroughly investigated to be sure that they are suicides. Having said that, we have drawn the attention of the police that there is a need to build a strong counseling department. Because I do not think that the system we have now is enough to guide people. We've also said that the religious leaders, you have the imams and the chaplains in the military, is decentralized. So every place that you go, you have them. With the police, it's centralized in Accra. And Honorable Chairman, we all know that even us, one time or the other, you go to your leaders in faith when you are facing challenges to be counseled. So yes, first, we want to ensure that they have not been killed and being put forward as suicide. But moving forward, we are working out to decentralize and make sure every district has an imam, a pastor, priest. Those sort of counseling is going to let us be able to reduce these things, if it is the case.
Chairman, if I can come in, to quote your words, let them be thoroughly investigated. What the Honorable Member for Ejisu is seeking to find out from you, suicide and its growing incident Has it been brought to your attention? Is it being investigated? Will you investigate it?
Yes, the suicide has been brought to my notice recently, starting with the first death of the officer, ESP, then the second and third. And immediately I got wind of that. I engaged them. And that is where these ideas came out. For instance, the Psychology Association of Ghana has been contacted to provide interim, interventions at the various levels. So my attention has been drawn to that, and I have, as I do in every case, insisted that it should be thoroughly investigated. But beyond that, decentralization, increasing of religious heads, and the functioning counseling department will be useful. For instance, in the army, when people are going on retirement, they are prepared. There's a counseling system that invites them and prepares them. You are going next year in 2 years, because we don't have that in the place. So this is one of the best practices that we are encouraging the police to put in place to be able to stabilize the situation so that we stem the suicides, if they are suicides, and then we punish them if they are not suicides.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One last point. Minister-designate for Interior. The Gaming Commission is an agency under the Ministry of Interior. In recent years, we have seen huge increase in number of youths who are actively engaging in online gambling. Unfortunately, we do not have legislation regulating activities within the space of online gambling in Ghana. What will the Ministry of Interior do to ensure that we don't lose our youth to online gambling addiction, which of course is a global problem? And what will you support a legislation to be passed to this effect?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. This is a very important matter, and I do thank you for bringing it up. I've had to go to the Council of State. They were concerned about it. We thought that gambling, if at all, should be restricted to certain places for elite who want to go and do whatever they want to do within the law. But the villages, we've engaged Minister of Local Government and district assemblies. We need to save our children. All of us, I'm sure, have seen it. You go campaigning in the village, and you go to a Pito bar, and you find some piece of equipment there. So we have been trying to check it. One way is that we've begun opening offices all over the country. We got Tamale now, and Shobalga, and the rest of them. We need to get the technical people in there. But yes, I'll welcome a law that will check that, because we cannot have a nation of gamblers.
Honorable Minister, I thought the issue was online. What you're talking about seeing equipment physically, is that used to do online gambling?
No, online gambling is it gets into the cyber area, and I'm sure that there's already a ministerial committee under His Excellency the Vice President trying to fight that. But the gaming has to do with these machines that you'll find in the villages where children go and put money and pull some lever, and they either get or they don't get. Okay. And it's corrupting our people.
But I'm trying to find out if we have no information or we have no idea like me. It's okay. Is it possible to block those online games from accessing our territory in Ghana?
Yes, it is. But we need to build our cyber security capacity. Honorable Chairman, I have got my pictures put up by several people promising protocol recruitment in the offices. As recent as yesterday, we arrested a security officer who was part of 24 people, collected 10,000 from them. You pull down one side and another side comes up. Indeed, I was privileged to be in Israel for some conference, and I think The Israelis are working on some model, and they invited Facebook there, and we are keeping a close watch that if something positive happens, we could bring that here to help our system. But yes, we do that. But after we do, others come. We are trying. We are working hard.
Yes, Honorable. Is it a follow-up? Okay.
Chair, Honorable Chair, Honorable Nominee, I recognize your answer fully, especially relative to the question that was just posed. But my concern really is, and then you mentioned prominently interministerial committee. Interministerial committee. Yes, is it the case that the police service do not have the capacity to deal with such crime, such online crime, and hence we have to defer to the interministerial committee?
No, we've set up some lab. The capacity is limited. We are building it. But what we are actually doing is enhancing our capacity by linking up. The communications is the lead ministry as far as that is concerned, fortunately on the national security. And so we work together just to benefit from the synergy, but we are building the capacity of the police by itself, and we are getting some assistance as far as technological interventions are concerned. Chairman, maybe one day we have to make a decision as a nation as to whether we need to allow security agencies, sometimes subject to certain preconditions, to be able to use technology without compromising privacy is an option open to us. Because those places that we have used technology to assist in our investigations, we've got positive results faster than where we did not use them. But it's a collective responsibility, and I would want to depend on this House at the appropriate time.
Yes, Mrs. Dery, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Nominee, I take you to page 178 of your handing over notes. Our prisons are overcrowded. You may not need it. The one with agencies, the volume 3.
National
Disaster Management 1, yes. Page 178.
178.
Yes. Our prisons are overcrowded. No doubt about that. In clear violation of the human rights of the inmates.
Page 178.
8.
8.
Yes, please.
What do we have there? Maybe I'm the wrong one, because since Savannah region, Nissan Patrol.
178 before 179. Volume 3. The one that has NADMO.
Yeah, NADMO. Okay. That's the one. Also the one with the police.
Okay, so that's volume 3.
179.
Can I proceed? Yes. So our prisons are overcrowded in clear violation of the human rights of the inmates. As if that is not bad enough.
Hold on, madam. Let me get to where you are.
It is
178. Yes? Say again.
okay. So now that we are there, I'm saying that our prisons are overcrowded in clear violation of the human rights of the inmates. And as if this is not bad enough, it is promoting the spread of diseases, and I am dreading COVID. Meanwhile, we have an opportunity to decongest our prisons, and this is, I'm having the non-custodial sentence, a law on non-custodial sentence in mind. Fortunately for us, the NDC started stakeholder consultation in 2015-2016. What is the status of the non-custodial sentence law, and what do you intend doing if you are given the nod? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. We continued with the concept of communal service. We started with community sentencing law, but as we involved more stakeholders, when the judiciary came in, they brought a certain, angle to it, a certain facet to it that we welcomed. He said it shouldn't be sentencing, it should be community service law. We are working on that. What we are now challenged to do is, what is the impact? Do we have case studies that help us make the case? But we prepare and we have to go to cabinet on it. That is not all. In the meantime, we want to reform the whole prison system. There's a law we want to amend the prisons. The President has given over 2,700 persons amnesty. And yes, I'm one of those people who doesn't believe in custodial laws. Having been a private practitioner for a long time. So it's something that we need to do. In the meantime, we are trying to see how we manage the spacing that we have. But we haven't given it up. In fact, the last intervention we had from the judiciary was really very powerful. And I'm happy you are coming in as an advocate. I'll be glad to get your input on the matter so that we can, enrich the discourse. Yes, we are going on with the community service bill that we are working on. But I believe our ideas will be enriched by your input. So, Madam, I'll be prepared to get from you.
My next question is on NADMO. Yes. MPs have become the financial directors of NADMO by default.
What did you say, MPs?
Yes, members of parliament.
How long have you been a member of parliament?
She just started.
So I will end and you understand. Because NADMO is always constrained with cash. Members of parliament end up filling the gap whenever there is a disaster. And I think that they don't have enough resources to do that. When giving the note, what policy will you put in place to ensure that NADMO is well resourced to take care of disasters anytime they happen? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I believe the Honorable Agalga would support me when I say that we've got bills over the years, and in some cases we've been sent to court. NADMO has been sent to court to pay up. Yes, we make the proposal, we continue to make the proposal, and yes, it is true that when people are caught in disasters, we, the MPs, have to go. We must also acknowledge other philanthropists who do come. But yes, you have an advocate in me to try to get funding for NADMO. At the same time, we also try to be proactive by the Sendai, reduction of disaster frameworks and education. But having said that, we need to resource NADMO more than we are doing now. And I agree with you. I will be on your side.
Ambrose.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, Mr. Mamni. Honorable Mamni, forgive me. My question is on the outbreak of these pandemics. This morning, CNN reported that there is Ebola outbreak in Guinea, resulting already in 7 deaths. I think that we are already battling COVID in this country. What would you say that your ministry will do once you are confirmed in collaboration with other state institutions to make sure that at least we don't have Ebola in addition to COVID to battle with?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I think it's a matter of concern. That was partly one of the reasons why the borders were closed over a period of time. But as you know, our borders, we have over 200 unapproved routes that we're working to see how we can address that. Yes, I will work with other agencies to make sure health, the technical capacity, and immigration. Yes, we have to work and make sure. We have to also pray hard, but I'm committed to making sure that we protect our borders as much as possible, and that's why we are building up immigration. You would remember or recall that it was a state parliament that passed a law giving immigration the legal support to be the front line. And so the last 4 years we spent trying to build their capacity. Now we've got them some equipment that makes them more offensive. They are also being trained at home from time to time. It's frequent, continuous, to toughen them up. But at the end of the day, we still need some technology to help us. And I think that above all, we need the locals there. And we are building good relations with the people at the border, making sure that we take care of their basic needs. And when we do win their confidence, they are the best persons when it comes to checking who is from here, who is from there. Our border is interesting in some places. The hall is in Ghana and the kitchen is in another country. And these are things that we all need to work together to make sure. But yes, we need to work out to make sure that Ebola doesn't come here. We have enough on our hands with the COVID that we are working hard, and I believe that we are all playing our part. So I would make sure that we support the effort to keep out Ebola. Thank you.
Yes, we are welcome.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Honorable nominee, I have with me all the list of legislations that this House passed in the 7th Parliament. And 81st on the list is the Narcotics Control Commission Bill 2019, which you presented, and which was duly passed on the 20th of March 2020. Act 1019 was duly assented to on the 11th of May 2020. What is the status of implementation of this very important legislation, which has something to do with medicinal cannabis and what have you? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. We have put together a committee to work on it. Honorable Chairman, but we need to make clear what the elements in there are. The impression out there is that we have legalized cultivation of cannabis for recreational use. That is not the case. The things that we have talked about has to do with not just checking cannabis and narcotics, but also when we have users getting into user disorders, we consider them as a health issue. And therefore, rather than incarcerate them, we should send them to a rehabilitation center, which the law has set up the Rehabilitation Fund to be funded by allocations from Parliament, by donations, and also by 50% of the amounts that we realize from properties that we are going to sell together. So making sure that we see the abuse of cannabis and of course disorders as a health issue, very, very important. We also have got in the same law, working with other agencies to make sure that we find alternative means of livelihood for those who cultivate the narcotics. Cultivate narcotics over some years, made money. It is not going to be easy for us to just take them and throw them away. But beyond that, I think it's Section 43 that does make some provision that where we have cannabis the dry weight of which is not more than 0.3% THC, which is a chemical in cannabis that has impact on the psychology and behavior of persons. That one, we can cultivate the subject to license for industrial by their seeds and fiber and medicine. So right now we need to work towards the immigration.
Please, let's get this clear. If I understand you, you're saying that to cultivate the cannabis, one, you need a license. Two, what you cultivate must be 3 TC. Okay, not exceeding 0.3 THC. And then you must also show that you're going to use it for industrial purpose. Is that addition? That's what I want to be sure that it is part of the condition. Otherwise, I just get a license and I use it for other purpose.
We're going to work towards getting operating regulations, which will bring back to Parliament and pass in Parliament. That will give us a detail of how we are going to deal with the matter. So we would come back here and deal with that. But for now, we have a committee working on it to make sure we can. Again, you would remember that in the 7th Parliament, there was collaboration on both sides to come and pass this bill into law. The 6th Parliament did not achieve that, and we are grateful to the effort of the 7th Parliament. And when we did it, this 0.3% engaged us, and I think technical persons on both sides of the aisle contributed to where we got to. We need to work together to get in place the regulations so that we can make sure that the law does achieve the goals for objectives for which we pass it. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman, my last question. We all are often concerned about the spate of armed robberies, all sorts of white-collar crimes, cyber crimes, and what have you. But what we haven't averted our minds to, and also to require of you and government, is the funding that government ought to find for equipping or the construction of a modern forensic laboratory for the police, and also giving them the required arms and ammunition. I don't remember the last time the police came to this house for a facility to procure modern arms and ammunition for their activities. I see you with the heads of prisons, immigration, fire service. What is your plan for re-equipping or building a modern forensic laboratory with properly trained technicians to be able to arrest all those criminals who are engaging with this white-collar crimes? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, first of all, the National Narcotics Commission law provides for an establishment of a forensic laboratory under that. But we at the police, we started with a lab for the CID, which we've got established now, that we are building. We also got specialized vehicles that are mobile investigative setup to be able to manage crime scene and all that. Yes, there was an arrangement for some arms from Czech Republic that we met, which we are still working on. And I'm sure that the situation is improved. But I'm the first to admit that we need to do more in that direction.
Yes. I don't know why I got. Oh. He's not interested.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I want to ask two main questions. First one bordering on human rights. The second one bordering on management of human resources in the sector. that of human rights, I would take it from prisons. When you look at the 2019 country report on human rights by the USA, this is how they describe our prison conditions. Prison conditions were generally harsh and sometimes life-threatening due to overcrowding, inadequate sanitary conditions, lack of medical care, physical abuse, and food shortages. And when you go to page 3 of the report, it even says that there were not enough toilets available for the prisons, such that as many as 100 prisoners were sharing one toilet. Beyond the rhetorics of we will do something about it, we are going to collaborate to work at it. Do we have some critical timelines to improve the condition of prisoners in Ghana?
Thank you. Honorable Chairman, I must say that the prison situation requires our full attention, and we are giving it as much as we can. First of all, let's take the feeding. Since 2012, the feeding has been fixed at 1 cedi 80. Yes, it's small, but we have areas. And over the years, we're struggling to pay that. What do? We've strengthened the agricultural department of it, and we are trying to do something about that. I have visited the prisons. We could do a lot more, no doubt about it. And that is why, as far as I'm concerned, these amnesties, I can assure you that I want to encourage as much as possible. But this community service law, I believe that is one of the priorities that I'll look at if approved.
But what about infrastructure development for the prison service?
What?
Infrastructure. Building and expanding
that is so.
Facility and improving what goes on, improving budgetary allocations and so on and so forth.
Precisely. First of all, I told you when I was talking about the other agencies, that infrastructure to build, we will need private public sector collaboration. And the challenge we had at the ministry was that we did not have a legal framework. And if you deal with the law, you want to be the last person to not to do something. I believe there were certain proposals before we came in about private public sector where some land is given in exchange for infrastructure being put up. We haven't been able to get that done. One, because of legal framework. So we will go beyond the rhetoric. And I want to say that I'm impressed that I've had 2 members of parliament taking the president's matter. It's not a thing that most people raise most of the time. And so I'm comforted by that. But I believe that we would, with private public sector collaboration, be able to build structures. Then we can increase the spacing. But more than that, I think we should decongest them and don't rather want to create more spaces for them. So that is where it is. So yes, not much has been done. We're building the remand, which I believe is about 70% complete in Sawam. And I want to put on record that certain groupings, like the Pentecost Church, has been one very supportive institution among others, who are providing resources, who are establishing farms, which makes it possible for us to move them out there and for those periods decongest it. But it is a challenge that we cannot.
And as a final clarification of that, so what's the status of the Justice for All program in respect of decongestion of the remand prisons? Justice for All program.
Justice for All program is also over the High Court in there is one prison to make sure that we achieve that. And so it's ongoing. It's ongoing, and I think that but there's a lot more to do, and we should work together to achieve it.
Very well.
Very
The
well.
second major question has to do with the
No,
human resources.
No. We've done 3 already. You said 2, you've done 3. Yes, Honorable Member Pat.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable, you have been in office for the past 4 years, from 2017 to you have been in office for the past 4 years, from 2017 to 6th January 2021. I would want you to mention three topmost achievements that you have took in your ministry as a Minister for Interior.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I would say 3 things, positive developments. I won't say I've achieved as an individual, because some of it I need to even share with Parliament. The first thing is the general transformation, starting with the police. And it has also come by because of the support that we get from Parliament, insisting that we get funding to support. So that transformation of making sure that we have better training. Police now, you don't just leave the training and go and rest. You have continuous training. Immigration has developed its training area and is doing very well. Welfare of the workers or the officers is paramount. And we have tried to make sure that the army and the rest of the security agencies, there isn't so much difference, and we try to make sure we balance that. And so, yes, welfare issues, the empowerment issues are also part of it. The third one, I would say, the working together of security agencies, the police, immigration, even sometimes prisons, the army, working together, collaborating, and making sure that they support the effort towards making Ghana a safe and peaceful place is another achievement that I think I will talk about.
Thank you very much. Honorable nominee, at the end of last year, talking about the welfare of the security service, at the end of last year, there were rumors that the security service had been deceived by the withdrawal of salaries promised them. Honorable nominee, can you throw more light on this issue of clarity? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. That was a serious misunderstanding. There was rationalization of the salary structure of the military. And when that happened, certain analogous positions in the police felt shortchanged. So I had to go to cabinet to make an appeal that those differences be handled. When cabinet finally approved it, it said no, we could not at that stage change the salary structure of persons, but we could have a one-time payment of allowance that would then be to have dealt with it so that we end the year, we can start something fresh. So that was the payment. In December, we used the 10% kit allowance.
Chairman, let me, Minister, the honorable member is seeking to know salary in your response a while ago, you said allowance. Salary is not the same thing as allowance. So address her legitimate concerns that members of the police service in December got certain payments. You say one-off, but certainly it cannot be allowance. If it is salary, let us know. If it is allowance, let us know. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Chairman, the misconception is that it was salary. It was not salary. And I am telling the genesis of the problem and how we worked it out. So when finance asked us, the police should be able to tell what the differences over the period of those analogous positions were. It was worked together, and it was decided that it will be paid as a one-time. So it is not a salary.
Chair, so they shouldn't expect anything further than what they got in December.
Honorable Chairman, if the honorable member would listen, that's what I said. We paid that to get to December. Then we've introduced now a 10% kit allowance across.
Chairman, 10% allowance on
kits.
And that allowance, is it on their basic salary? 10% of what? For the record, 10%.
I think 10% of their salary.
Basic salary.
Yes.
Thank you.
So it's going to go across all the agencies. Just as I said, you want to make sure that you establish a standard and continue to develop it across. So for instance, when you get to prisons, I've tasked the prisons that they need to do something about their conditions. When you want to connect prisons positions to analogous positions in the police, you will find one or two positions that are out of place, and it gives us problems. You recall that it is in the 7th Parliament that we passed regulations for the fire service. We've never had regulations for the fire service, and all these go to deal with the conditions. So we are doing something fundamentally across. The next we will deal with prisons and the rest of it. And that will then come up in a manner that is not only that we wait until they are going for the captivity, but we also make sure that
again, follow up to me.
But Honorable Chairman, I need to make something. The last time, the Honorable Minority Leader formulated something that I said, he wants to get to where he asked whether the captivity is not on. The captivity is on. But there is a sunset clause for it to lapse. And we want to make sure the sunset clause does not.
When is that sunset?
So,
Chair, with your when is the sunset for captivity? The law has not even been amended at 7.
The law is we are going to bring it in the first quarter.
How long must the security personnel of the security agencies expect to be under captivity? 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?
No. For the rest of
perpetuity till they retire?
It comes into when you retire.
You just use the word till sunset. I want to know the sunset.
What I'm saying is that the law now permits them to be on captivity, but the law was going to migrate them to Senate. And with that, what we are doing now is to amend it to prevent that sunset. So you see, you reminded me of the advocacy in court. You got me that, but I wanted to come to you, but I've got it now to amend for you. Thank you, Honorable Chairman.
Yes, Honorable
Most grateful, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I would like to begin by seeking your leave, Mr. Chairman, to have us watch this production, which gives us the picture in our prisons currently. This is a work done by the award-winning journalist Sir Kwame Boateng. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I seek your leave for us to watch this. It's less than a 6-minute video clip.
You mentioned it to me, showed it to me in the morning.
I'm grateful, Mr. Chairman.
to the United Nations standard minimum rules for the treatment of prisoners. All countries have an obligation to observe certain basic human rights standards in their prisons. Standards regarding the conditions of detention must be observed regardless of a state party government. The UN demands a minimum floor space and cubic content of air for each prisoner. Adequate sanitary facilities, clothing, which shall by in no manner degrading or humiliating, provision of a separate bed, and provision of food of nutritional value adequate for health and strength. I decide to go around and check how far these standards have been met in this prison. The prison administration is supposed to provide inmates with food of wholesome quality. More than 180 pesos is needed to provide this kind of meal for inmates. For years, prisoners have been fed on 180 pesos daily. Director General of the Ghana Prison Service, Emmanuel Ajato, says this amount is woefully inadequate. Until all these things are done, inmates will continue drinking watery porridge without sugar and either eat their famous curry, which goes with a kind of colored water mixed with palm oil, is supposed to be palm nut soup, or bankum, which goes with what I would describe as improvised groundnut soup. For first-hand information, the inmates, together with their officers, agreed to lead me to their places of convenience. The stench is extremely unbearable. Okay, so I have been here for just a few hours. The congestion is just too much. And because you see the background, they are not very friendly. So the time they see people like us around, they will tell their stories. I am struggling to breathe as a result of the stench and heat here, or because I am a first-time visitor. I wonder what asthma patients here go through. The remand population as of today is 625, and there are only 4 toilets here. Unfortunately, 2 of them are out of use now. 625 inmates here share only 2 toilets. They form long queues in the morning to wait for their turn. At times, they do it on themselves. And just a few steps away from the almost half-full water closet are scores of inmates preparing different kind of food from their make-believe palm nut soup. Before they can eat the curry provided them, they have to sieve and do away with some large particles in the curry. Remember, all these things are taking place not far from their toilet. I wonder what will happen when there is outbreak of cholera. As you can see, this gentleman is fortunate to have received food because members were here to listen to him and they got him food. So he's sharing with his friends here. So it tells the difference between the food they eat here and the one they eat outside. At the Kumasi prison, it is few minutes past 4 p.m. and it is time for the inmates to be locked up, so officers are conducting their last roll call.
I think that's sufficient. You can close down. Now, can I ask you a question, please?
Inside the cells, the picture looks horrifying. Human beings packed up in a room with not even an inch space between them.
Yes, you may now ask the Minister one.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Minister-designate, that is the state of our prisons as reported by Joy News. That's Kwame Boateng's report. That's a year ago. Yeah, from what he tells me. Honorable Minister-designate, he raises issues about congestion, about the low cost for the feeding ration, and then they also speak to the lack of infirmaries, lack of ambulances. So it's just a human rights disaster very dehumanizing conditions as we have seen. What assurances can you give this committee that we will, as a country, take concrete action to address what clearly is a scar on our conscience?
Honorable Chairman, these pictures are disturbing, but I want to know exactly when it happened. I don't insist that he must say if he doesn't know it, but I want this picture to then go and engage the Director General on these matters. Because I know Kwambata has come to me a number of times. I've gone to the prisons. It hasn't been good, but this one is something else. But certainly, I would want to engage the Director General on this. So that, because sometimes when we are making applications to other institutions because if you want amnesty, it's not just making an application. You need to go to Council of State and make a case for it. And so I believe that if this can be made available, I would like to see what the situation is now and how we can use that to help us plan for it. But certainly, this is not acceptable. I haven't seen it this much before. I don't know, maybe when I'm going.
Yes. Are you willing to give evidence to him to assist in his investigations?
And if you can
are you willing to give that to him as evidence to assist in his investigations?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would make it available. And I spoke to the journalist this morning. He is also available to assist the honourable nominee. Linked to that honourable nominee is the issue of their infirmaries and then their ration. Do you know the current rate? They've been asking for an increment for some time now, up from the 1 Ghana 80 cedis. Has there been an increment, or is this something you are looking at?
No, there has not been an increment. What we have done is try to meet the 180 and also pay the backlog. We've made applications. So what we did was to get the Ministry of Agriculture to make us part of the planting for food and jobs. And they gave 5 tractors, which we then used to cultivate some food to help. But certainly that's not enough. I'm for an increase, and I'll be glad if we get an increase with your support.
Thank you, Minister. My second question.
I think I need to apologize. I was so taken up that I said you could give it to me tomorrow. I'm not minister yet, but I'm sure that immediately it's possible we will do it together. Thank you.
You are the president's representative at the ministry, so the sense of urgency is admirable, and I think it's positive. Honorable Chairman, this is a double-barreled one. I'm concerned about incessant reports that extreme violence and terrorism appears to be moving down from the Sahel to Burkina Faso. It's getting closer and closer. You are a minister responsible for the interior, our land borders, and for that matter, the Ghana Immigration Service falls directly under your purview. What assurances can you give this committee that working within extreme violence and terrorism framework, you will guarantee the territorial integrity and stability of our country? And if you can also link that to the ongoing investigations by the IGP who chaired the Election Security Task Force. He held a press conference after the elections, assuring us that the people who were killed would get some justice. But we have not heard from him since. I think that was in December. That was the last time we heard from the IGP. If you can kindly respond to these two matters.
Thank you very much. Honorable Chairman, the issue of terrorism moving southwest into Ghana, and it towards Ghana, not into Ghana, and its impact, we are beginning to feel it in crime along the borders. You will recall that there was a situation where someone went to the Catholic Church in Hameli and was arrested with a person. Then subsequently, there were some arrests in the Upper West. So we are beginning to see a trend where criminals just cross the border, commit offenses, and withdraw. So first we are engaging our colleagues out there to collaborate with us as much as they can, and that should be emphasized. But the Northern Border Security Project is meant to address this situation. We have decided that there will be about 15, FOBs along the border and to the eastern side and the western side. The first line will be of immigration officers. Then behind that, we have the military to be called in when we think that the backup is necessary. And then also, we're beginning to deploy in the two upper regions where we didn't have the presence of soldiers on a permanent basis to be able to do that. The issue is that we need to address the over 200 unofficial routes, unapproved routes, you call them. So we are saying that apart from these FOBs, we have setups. And that is where we need the collaboration of the citizenry. And they are very cooperative. When you go there and they know you've cut a road, you brought them water, then they can begin to cooperate with you. So yes, this is a project that we think is going to cabinet and be approved. Now we think that we should be getting close to that. And that is one of the first things that we hope within the first 100 to 200 days we can begin to push. It is real. The intelligence agencies are doing a good job and we are tracking whatever is happening. But no doubt, they are also exacerbating the situation of crime within the communities just south of the border. So yes, it's a thing that we need to fight, and that's why we are beginning to have pushing a number of people up there. And we have a challenge of people not wanting to go to certain deprived areas all over the country, not just the north, all over the country. And we are working a scheme that would encourage police to go there. And I think the last police that were passed out, I'm told they send them all there, and immigration also did the same. So yes, it's a real thing, and we need to work together to make sure that we fill in the gap, otherwise we will be in trouble. Part is the police, yes, the police leads the election task force. It has been so, whichever party is in power, and that shows that the politicians don't try to interfere in things as they happen. Yes, I wish to take this opportunity to express my condolences to all those who lost families who lost their relatives in this whole exercise. And I am also for, because Mr. Chairman, Honorable Chairman, in these matters, it could happen to anybody. I mean, a gunman enters a town and he's firing. There are no political colors there. And therefore, it's a threat to all of us. And my insistence is that they must do a good job of the investigation. But sometimes, Mr. Honorable Chairman, while working at it, I think that we can also sometimes recognize that our situation is not that bad. We want to give praise to God for it. We want to look at the elections as a loss, not acceptable. We should work towards zero loss of lives. But we had 6 spots where violence involved guns. Honorable Chairman, our colleagues in our neighboring country said our election was boring. It was not eventful. But we Ghanaians have set the standards, and that we would insist that the police make sure that we raise the bar higher by making sure that we bring all those book. So yes, I'm for it. And it has always been my stand that these things should be thoroughly investigated. And I can assure you that, given the note, I would insist that it be done.
Just before the Honorable Blackwell, let me indulge you. Minister, in your answer, you have said condolences and sympathies. You didn't use condolences. You said sympathies to those families. Beyond sympathies, will you assure them the pursuit of justice?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Except that I said it in general terms. Let me now tell the relatives of the deceased that we will do all in our power to make sure that all those who perpetrated those acts, criminal acts, are brought to book. Yes, they have my assurance. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, finally, I want to raise the matter of the killing of the journalist, the investigative reporter Ahmed Hussein Swali. Last month was exactly 2 years since his brutal murder. It has affected our international rankings so far as press freedom credentials are concerned, and it's a blight on our human rights credentials as well. I see all the international reports, the Amnesty report, the U.S. State Department Human Rights Report released on 27 November 2020, all referring to the unresolved killing of Ahmed Hussein Swali. There has been no update to the nation in about a year. The fear is that this is becoming a cold case. What do you have by way of update, and what assurances can you give this committee that if approved, you will pursue this matter assiduously so that the perpetrators of this heinous crime will be brought to justice?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, believe me, last Wednesday was the last time I asked for an update. Last Wednesday was the last time I asked for an update from the CID director. And he said that they were working on certain aspects of it. Look, we all need to work towards establishing these cameras, because if you listen to the scenario that was painted, if we picked those people on camera, we would have made greater progress. But as at last Wednesday, there have been certain aspects of it, the limited technological things that we had. Expert advice was sought externally, and inputs have come back. We pray that happens. It is not the case that it has died. Just Wednesday I asked that, and I was told they've got a volume or something. We pray that it happens. You recall that in the case of our colleague, late colleague in Fansimam, you know, the available pieces of technology that were hard and good. We're trying to see how much we can get from that. So the case is not dead. And I can assure that we want to get to the bottom of the matter.
So,
Please,
Chairman,
related
to that,
no
just related to Ahmed Swali, a colleague MP, murdered by armed robbers, Honorable J.B. Dankwa, Member of Parliament, murdered. It's taking years. Justice delayed, it is said, is justice denied. How will you, in guaranteeing and assuring journalists generally of the general safety and protection of all Ghanaians, what is the status of this particular cases affecting our colleagues who were murdered?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I think that the cases of our colleagues losing their lives is part of the general problem that we need to solve. Honorable Chairman, We, for instance, in the case of enforcement, we got certain pieces of evidence that got us the links immediately. In the case of JB Dankwa, we took off from where the last government left off, and we've been trying as much as we can. But the important thing is that we have to be proactive while we solve this problem, so that we don't end up police reaction. And that has to do with first increasing the numbers of police, giving us the protection that we need. I think it's some of the things that we should not joke about. But certainly, those cases are not there. I can assure you, we collaborated with the Attorney General. We did to reenact things, but I can assure you that the CID has improved greatly recently, and you can see a lot of professionalism working, and we are not going to allow any of those cases to die. Otherwise, you and I are not safe. But I must emphasize that the security and safety of the individual Ghanaian citizen and resident is paramount and as important as these specific cases that we are discussing. Thank you, Honorable.
Chief, if you will have the last slide. Yes, I know why I got.
Thank you very much, Honorable nominee, senior at the bar, somebody that I've known since my childhood. You, in your answer in relation to the recruitment, said that so many young people applied, about 10,000, and
tens of thousands, not 10,000.
Tens of thousands.
Some 80,000 members.
Yeah, tens of thousands.
Yes.
And then you referred the matter, or you were invited by the Council of State.
I was summoned, but I didn't refer.
You were summoned by
the Council of State.
And then they are the ones who advised that you keep that list of the tens of thousands that applied that year. And then every year you draw from that number to recruit. Is that what you're doing? Is that the practice that you are engaged in now?
Honorable Chairman, I need to be more elaborate about what happens. We have done the online recruitment, and there was a hue and cry, and I believe, Honorable, you were in the country at the time. So when I was invited there, they took me through series. Number one, they said it was a ripoff. How much administrative fees did they pay? I made it clear to them that when I took office, the last recruitment, the administrative fee was 100 cedis. And the commanders have come to the meeting at the ministry to propose an increment to 150. Number one, I turned down the 150. And number two, I slashed the 100 to 50. So they said, fine, that is good. But what difference does it make when we see our people the way they were? So you have got about 80,000 applying for 1,000 jobs. What do you do about it? I went with my commanders there, and then they did not direct me. But what were we to do? Have another recruitment online? Have another set of tens of thousands? So, in that discourse, we promised that we're going to, as much as possible, use that data, and it was agreed, and we came out. I don't want to say that they directed me, but Honorable Chairman, this matter has been discussed severally. The commanders came to the Committee on Defense and Interior to explain their situation. So I was only explaining what was seen as a trend that was unusual, and these are the unusual circumstances. I'm not by that saying that will be the modus going forward, but I'm explaining what transpired. And Honorable Chairman, it is important to emphasize that I did not and I do not recruit. The recruitments are done by the agencies. But if you listen to the airwaves, I've been bashed severally over. My only concern is that it feeds a certain misconception that allows fraudsters to dupe unsuspecting Ghanaians that there are protocol forms in the ministry. Beyond that, I think the technical heads, if you want a report, should be in a position to give you a report. I don't partake in recruiting them, but I was explaining the situation.
You're speaking into the mic so we can hear.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm here to ask you my actual question because I'm just trying to recall what you said here. Yes, so assuming that 2-3 years ago, I was not qualified to apply because the age limit for qualification is, let's say, 18. And then 3 years ago, all those who were above 18 applied. And then you take the data of 3 years ago. And this year, all those young people who have qualified to apply, and last year who qualified to apply, by virtue of the method that you as minister have approved or accepted, that these security agencies deploy, all these young people who have become eligible automatically are left out. And what guarantee is there that that list that you are drawing from really exists? Minister, I think that it is absolutely wrong. The young people of this country are owed an apology.
Ask the question.
Yes. I'm asking the question. I think it is absolutely wrong. The young people of this country are owed an apology, and you must stop immediately the implementation of this policy and open it up every year. Whatever the service charge is, the young people haven't said that they have a difficulty every year trying their luck by paying 100 Ghana cedis. And if the 100 Ghana cedis is paid into a government account and it goes to government coffers and it can be accounted, I don't think the young people have a problem with that. So, Minister, will you give the young people of this country an assurance that this unacceptable, improper method of recruitment will stop immediately, and that going forward, you will open up the recruitment every year for every young person who is eligible to also apply?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. If the honorable member listen to me, it has lapsed. It is not a policy. It was to solve a problem. It has lapsed. Since then, how many recruitments are taking place? It's not a big deal. But I'm saying, in my answer, I said, that is not going to be the situation moving forward at all. And let me assure you that that matter of interested in generations not being locked out, I am committed to that. Article 17 is clear, and I believe every generation has the right to get access. And it's back to the E matter. It was a problem, and that was the solution. It has lapsed. It is not a policy of the ministry. No. Be assured.
Yes. Very well. Then Honorable Singh.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Maybe I should also take it from the last answer. And Honorable Chair, before I do, I'd like to refresh the Honorable nominee's memory on an answer he gave earlier in relation to whether police officers were given salary increments or allowances prior to the December elections. It was a very topical matter at the time. The leader of the NDC and flag bearer did make comments on it, comments which led the IGP to also go on radio on Peace FM to assure police officers that indeed what they have seen reflected on their pay slips, and I have a copy of a pay slip here, salary adjustment basic salary, 1,677, salary adjustment, 1,677. Then you still have other allowances identified as allowances. So I want to find out from the nominee, what was the communication, both internally, or if you like officially, to these police officers on these adjustments? Because the police officers, and per this payslip that I have with me here, were made to believe that these were salary adjustments and not allowances. And maybe whilst on that, the recruitment is an issue also related to the welfare of the police service. Again, there's evidence that new recruits, indeed some of them are undergoing training as we speak. Some of them completed SHS in 2017, some of them in 2018. At what point did these people apply to be part of that so-called list? Because they couldn't have applied in 2018 when they were still in SHS.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, we appear to be haggling over nomenclature. What to call what. I have told you what the issue was and what the solution was. If in paying the money, the one-time payment, it was presented as an adjustment, it was not meant to be a salary increase per the month. It was the cumulative of the number of months since the rationalization of the income of the military with analogous positions in the police. I am not an accountant. I don't know what it was said, but I am telling you what it is. Communicating it to the officers, I didn't do that personally. I dealt with the IGP and the financial director. They brought the complaint and we got a solution. And the solution was we'll make a one-time payment to cover the gaps between the analogous to end the year. So they were not allowances per se, and they are not salary increase as per month, except you want to say that you then have to prorate it, divide it by the number of months, to be able to tell the month what the top-up was. What I then went ahead to say was that we then said, fine, opening the year, there is a need for some top-up to enable the security personnel meet their expenses from their uniform side. So we say kit allowance of 10%. So that one I know is an allowance. But if a one-time payment...
Minister, let me come in with Chairman's indulgence. You undertook, as you have repeatedly said, salary rationalization.
Military undertook
the police,
salary
the police, not military. The police undertook salary rationalization. Is that the case?
No.
You used those words.
No.
You said...
I'm sorry. Rationalization for the police.
So when you use rationalization?
I used salary rationalization for the army. And that when it took place, analogous positions in the police service felt shortchanged. So they came to me as minister.
So was the officers of the police service aware that you were considering an adjustment of a one-time payoff on the basis of rationalization happening to the military? Were they aware?
Honorable Chairman, the complaint came from the police to the ministry that they felt shortchanged. Because if they and their
Chairman, my question is specific.
You say what?
No, my question is specific. Chairman, with your indulgence, there was some salary rationalization in the military, the consequence of which was some agitation within the Ghana Police Service. As you were considering this matter, were the police carried on along with you to be aware that there would be some adjustment arising out of the rationalization in the military that will affect their salary, or call it allowance, or a one-time pay off? Were they aware?
Honorable Chairman, what I know, as we differentiate between the remit of the IGP and the remit of the ministry, is that the IGP and his head of finance brought a complaint. We then asked them to go and bring us the figures, which they did. At Cabinet, an approval was made that the matter be resolved. And since it was not a salary adjustment, as you have seen, which should have gone to certain processes, we were going to pay it as a one-time. That was the understanding between the ministry and the leadership of the police.
So, Chairman,
I did not.
Minister, easy. One time what? One time what? We don't want you to struggle with words, whether salary or allowance. Give us your own words.
One-time payment of what was to make up for up to December. The difference that the rationalization had caused the disadvantage on the part of each of the categories. So that was what it was. What they told their police, I do not know.
Was it meant to induce them because of the election? Was it meant to induce police officers because of the election?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There are minutes of the cabinet.
Honorable is sufficient. Let's make
absolutely not. I need to emphasize.
I'll move on to my
because
so it's all right. It's all right. You have answered the question. Thank you. Because of time,
thank you.
I think that I would like to move on to my next question. That's, you put it on record. Absolutely not. Right? I don't expect you to say yes, even if it was meant to be yes. But I have this annual report of the Auditor General on the public accounts of Ghana, ministries, departments, and other agencies for the year ended 31st December 2019. And I have Ministry of Interior unapproved reduction of permit fees, 1,100,000 unapproved reduction of permit fees. Permit fees, permit, P-E-R-M-I-T, permit. Regulation 20 of the Financial Administration Regulation 2004 states, the head of department responsible for collecting various types of fees and charges shall review annually the administrative efficiency of collection, the accuracy of past estimates, and the relevance of rates, fees, and charges to current economic conditions, and submit proposals through the appropriate sector minister to Parliament for approval. Also, fees and charges amended Instrument 2014 approved, among other fees and charges, permit for the import of explosives, arms, and ammunition to be 7% of invoice face value. Now, 308, paragraph 308 says, we however noted that the ministry unilaterally granted a reduction of 2% permit fees from 7% to 5% in favor of 3 companies, AEL Mining Services, AKY Mining Services Limited, and Maxam Ghana Limited, in the importation of explosives, which resulted in the rebate of 1,100,272.86 Ghana cedis without approval from Parliament. And the table is provided to support that. Will the Minister be kind enough to tell us how these companies got these permits under a reduced
license regime.
Honorable Chairman, I did not approve any reduced fees. What we have is that the applications are brought and it goes through the processes. When I approve, it's administrative secretary. I did not, and I'm not, and they should be paid. I have no difficulty.
So, what you are saying is that if approved, you will make sure that these monies are...
That is so. They have to pay. That's for sure.
All right, to my last question now. There is this State Department report on Ghana, human rights report, and it captures a number of interesting things. And this question is relevant because earlier you said, as minister in the last 4 years, together with the police council, you have not seen any indiscipline that warrants, perhaps an intervention from your side. When Honorable Neil Ante-Vanderpoel talked about how police are either kept or unkempt or they dress. Now in July, the report captures that in July, police killed 7 persons near Kumasi in an incident that sparked riots when authorities claimed the victims were suspected robbers. In September, the Ministerial Committee established to investigate the circumstances that led to the death submitted its initial report to officials. After studying the report, in a statement issued on November by the Minister of Information, the government directed that 21 police officers be suspended and made subjects of criminal investigation. Then another part of the report says in February, the United Nations reported that it received a complaint of sexual exploitation and abuse against peacekeepers from Ghana deployed in the United Mission in South Sudan. The United Nations investigated allegations that members of the unit were having sexual relations with women at one of the protection camps. 46 Ghanaian police officers were subsequently repatriated on administrative grounds. Ghanaian authorities continue to investigate. Will the minister still stand by the earlier assertion that discipline is at its peak, and so it does not call for the intervention of the minister and the council? And will he also be kind enough to bring this committee up to speed with the investigation in relation to the Sudan case?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, I was responding to hairstyles, haircuts, and earrings as indicators of indiscipline. And I said that I had not observed that as influencing their indiscipline. That's one. Number 2, Honorable Chairman, what happened in Sawasi was very regrettable. The Honorable MP for Sawasi worked with us, and there were 3 things that we needed to sort out. First, the allegation that those persons who were killed were criminals. Second was an aspect of compensation, and then third, the disciplinary process of those who were involved in the killing. We went into it. Happily, the investigation showed a committee was set up. And the investigation showed that those who were killed were not the criminals they said they were. Clear. Some compensation was paid. Then, what we're left with now is the prosecution of the police. The police investigated the docket case at the Attorney General's. Honorable Chairman, a 3-part action to test them It scores 66 to 10%. It's not a bad thing. But this matter goes beyond statistics. And we must deal with the matter to its conclusion. Honorable Chairman, when we were dealing with these cases, there were a number of them. So first, if you apply interdiction, the law, there's a limit to how long somebody can be on detention. It goes up. But for now, let me say that if I get the approval, I would follow to make sure that this third part too can be resolved to the satisfaction of all of us. That is it. The police and the accusation of sexual offenses. They sent the police back. We wrote to them, investigated it, put them in interdiction. We wrote to the UN to send witnesses. We were prepared to prosecute them. 3 times through Minister of Interior, Minister of Foreign Affairs. No witnesses came. That is not all. The UN continued to use our personnel. Honorable Chairman, human rights, fundamental human rights of the police show that if we cannot prove the cases against them, we must well allow them. So that's where we are. That's not all. I came to Parliament and we've amended the police regulations because we did not have a specific provision for sexual misconduct. We had the Jet Omnibus one, which says that your behavior brings the police into the service into disrepute. But we took the best practices internationally and we've amended it. So, legal framework, we've killed it. Our police, we are prepared. They are maybe able to come. And the Constitution clear, international law is clear. That you are presumed innocent until proven guilty. That's where we are. Having said this, we are not saying that we have a perfect police force. But what we are saying is that when they go wrong, the law must be applied and sanctions applied. We are committed to that. We're going to work and make sure we achieve that. With that, I know I have the support of Parliament. But let me put on record again the cooperation that we enjoyed from the MP for Asawase in this matter. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
From a special appeal on our safety as parliamentarians, just a question on our safety as parliamentarians.
The leader has noted it down. Why?
Especially because of the fire tender that I see here and the high-rise buildings that we have. I'm sure the leader will handle it.
The leader will take care of that. Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. Congratulations, Honorable Nominee. Chairman, permit me to do, my first question has to do with a constituency-specific concern. And it relates to my constituency. Honorable Nominee, you recall in 2015 that there was this explosion, terrible explosion, there was this explosion in my constituency where properties and lives were lost. Back and forth, I've engaged you extensively on this matter. And for more than 5 years now, we've been trying to resolve this matter. I must say that my constituents, the affected families and victims are still in pain. Let me also say that it didn't happen in your time, but you've shown responsibility afterwards. But this is something that is very dear to my heart, and I want to find out from your outfit, for these years that we have, regardless of the engagement that we have gotten involved in, what do you see as the way out? especially looking at it from a very broader perspective. The handling of explosives, the role of the District Assembly, the role of the Minerals Commission, and your good self, coupled with the fact that after the event, government put together a committee, and the committee came up with a number of recommendations. As we speak, none of the recommendations have been implemented. There is a huge expectation out there. What would you say going forward as a prescription in resolving this matter?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, the state has perpetual succession, and so government will take over and deal with the matters. Yes, it didn't happen in that time, but the Honorable Member of Parliament came up, and I appreciated his effort to try and get us solved. The only hit we had was a court action, which delayed it. All I can say is that we are open, still open, to how we can explore ways and means by which people who have suffered losses would be compensated by amicable agreement. We are still open to that. And I believe that if approved, I could work with the Minister for Local Government and we see how we can work some of these things. We are still open to it. And I appreciate where you are coming from. These are your constituents who have suffered some hardship. Yes, we would continue to work, checking explosives, but those who have been affected, we should do something about it. Honorable Chairman, I'm looking forward to engaging further on this matter, if approved as Minister for the Interior.
Honorable nominee, refreshing to hear, but I will have to ask you a follow-up question on that, because the committee that was formed were quite explicit in terms of their recommendations. One of them, as I can recall, was to issue some punitive measures to some state institutions who were involved. I don't know what has happened to these institutions, and have they been left off the hook, or what engagements have gone on ever since between your outfit and these institutions involved?
Honorable Chairman, on my part, I must say that when we didn't get an amicable settlement sorted out, and the matter went to court, we stalled to await the outcome. So I didn't follow up to find out those other stakeholders what had happened. But I believe that I'm still open to do so, because I was also expecting that probably legal action could solve the matter. So I have not pursued it, but it's not closed. I believe we can still look at it. Thank you.
Honorable nominee, would I be fair to you if one day I'm quoted to say that you have agreed to settle this matter amicably out of court and to ensure that all the victims involved are given deserving compensation?
Well, it's technically untenable because I'm a minister of state and I have to get the buy-in of the Attorney General. I cannot commit the state without engaging the Attorney General. So my word alone is a show of commitment, and I work with the stakeholders, prominent among them, the Attorney General. So I'll show you of my commitment in that regard.
Mr. Chair, there is a General Administration Regulation 2016, that's CI 92, Prison Service. And Mr. Chair, with your permit, just quote one section of the law, of the Act, Section 72, and amongst others says, The service shall pay a contagious disease allowance to an officer who is deployed to work in the prison designated as being contagious. The contagious disease allowance is 10% of the basic salary of that officer. Honorable nominee, I'm very sure that you are aware of prison contagious allowance. I'm reliably informed that it's only Ankafo which is benefiting. All the other places are left out. Is that the case? And if it is the case, what plans do you have, if you are gracious enough to be granted the nod, for other prisons that are involved?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, since we resolved the matter of compensation for the police who died in the course of duty, I then decided to look around the other agencies. In the case of immigration, it's just as direct as the police. Then, in my interaction with the prison officers, I raised the issue, and of course fire service, that we should bring a definite, position on this matter. And we will need the input of medical experts to help us build. So that even after they have left, if autopsy or postmortem shows that this is caused by the disease that they contracted, we should do something about it. That's one of the challenges that are left for them. In the case of the fire service as well, we talked about smoke inhalation and how we can use that to work on it. So I'm pleasantly surprised if they say it's being paid, because my understanding is that it's not being paid, and I'm asking that we come out with something that will be a basis for us to apply it to all the prisons. So it's something I've marked even in the first term.
Honorable nominee, you are clearly having a difficulty in respecting or ensuring enforcement. Would you agree with me that you may have to come to Parliament for direction, because the act was passed by Parliament, and if you're having difficulty in ensuring that it is fulfilled, then reasonably have to come to Parliament and seek direction or some guidance on how you should do it. Wouldn't you agree with me on that score?
Honorable Chairman, I'm unable to agree, because it's an interpretation of the law. I would have to get it and sort it out with the Attorney General. But what I did when I raised the Director General, they were cooperative, and they said they will come up with proposals through their council. So I didn't see the need to release it, but in the end, we would have to then go to General, and if such a thing is going to happen, I would see how it fits into the regulation other way, and we'll deal with it. So no, I would deal with it before it ever comes to Parliament. By the time, I should have discussed the cabinet. Thank you.
Honorable nominee, how have you dealt with promotions, due promotions within agencies under your outfit over the years? How has it been?
Honorable Chairman, Excellency the President gave one directive when I took office, and that is that we should not delay promotion of personnel. So I can tell you that we have promoted extensively across. In the case of prisons, the 4 years we have promoted 501 officers and about 4,700 other ranks. Each time I meet the workers, I raise the issue about promotion, and if any of them have been left behind, I'm prepared to deal with it. Indeed, Honorable Chairman, that is where it came to me that in the case of prisons, there were some 2 ranks that were just, in my view, a waste of time, because I couldn't link it to any analogous place in the police, because as you work, you want to make sure there's equity. And we agreed that they should do something about it. And so, as far as I know, across the agencies, there have been promotions extensively, but we are prepared to deal with situations where people have special cases. We will investigate them and make sure that we get their promotions effective.
Honorable Minister-designate, what is your reply to your critics who say that you have discriminated against the Ghana Prison Service and your focus has been on other agencies but the Ghana Prison Service? What would be your reply to these critics?
Honorable Chairman, I would say that probably they do not know what happened. For instance, I raised the issue of redundant positions. When I became minister and we started paying rent allowance, we realized that in the prisons, 2 officers who are married, only the male was paid, but the female was not paid. The woman was not paid, man was paid. And I told them that was unconstitutional, and I ensured that that rule was abolished, and we had rent allowance paid to all officers, both men and women. And I am still the one lamenting that we should do something about this. Yes, resource allocation also makes it possible for you to achieve all you want to achieve. Admittedly, the transformation started with the police as the biggest agency. But you see, each time when something happens to the police, I want to apply it across board. Accounting across board. Paid allowance across board. And that is in trying to make sure of that equity that I came across this. I want to assure the prison officers that I am on their side as much as possible. I'm actually on their board council as well. And when I don't know to go, my duty goes. So please, we have them in our hearts, and we are going to work with them to improve their life.
Minister-designate, you have a responsibility over land border security through the Ghana Immigration Service. And I heard you in your earlier submission that we have challenges at our borders. What has been the working relationship with the Ghana Boundary Commission over the years? And if there are any improvements going forward into the future?
Few of borders have taken front burner now with the establishment of the border commission that's led by one of our generals, and we're working hard to do something about it. Yes, I'm sure this committee has dealt with the issue which started in Dollar Town, and interior we had to deal with foreign affairs to see what we could do across. There are problems that we need to work together. His Excellency the President visited the neighboring countries, and we were part of his delegation. And then we set up this arrangement to collaborate on those. I believe that there's a lot of work we need to do, that we need to do now. And if we allow it to fester, we would have something. For our part, the immigration services have recruited over 4,000. They were not established nationally. Now they're established in the regions and the districts. And all that will help us. But even then, we still need to give attention to our borders. And that's why, starting with the Northern Border Security Project, we are going to carry the developments along all the borders, east and west, and even the Marine, will be dealt with by the Navy and other security agencies. Thank you.
Minister-designate, amnesty and remission. Let me commend you to start with. My checks reveal that you've done creditably well. especially when it comes to the granting of amnesty. I'm sure you also agree with me that the granting of remission has effect.
Chairman, just a little clarification. My understanding is that the power to grant amnesty is vested in the president, isn't it the minister? Just to give you clarity as you proceed, I do not see that power vested in the minister, but if you have legislation...
that is so, I need to emphasize that. And say that as working up to the president, I'm sure that you meant that. But the president, that is the president's prerogative.
So you should put it in
and we should give the credit to him.
Minister-designate, on remission, you have also alluded to the congestion we have in our prisons. At least I can speak to what is happening in Sound Prison. I'm reliably informed, correct me if I'm wrong, that you have done a compilation of inmates who are due for the granting of remission. Yes, I mean inmates who are due for remission. And this list has been lying and getting dusty for a while. If it's the case, what is limiting you, from ensuring that these remissions are granted, especially in the face of the fact that when it is done, it will help and assist in ensuring that we have space in our prisons, and it will also help in other matters involved. What is really the challenge or the issue?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, just as I've admitted more than once here, the prisons need a lot of attention. These proposals that are made, they need to go through the board and then come up. Those that I've dealt with so far have to do with those that were proposed for amnesty. The remissions I've heard, they haven't gotten to me yet. I believe they will come. When they do, I can assure you, Honorable Chairman, that we need to concentrate on these prisons matters in a more substantial manner. Should I get a nod from the committee and Parliament? Thank you.
Honorable Nominee, I'm told there was a promise to construct a hospital at the Sound Prison. If it's the case, what is holding it up to this time?
Honorable Chairman, there is the promise. We've established a clinic there that is quite strong. And yes, and the manifesto we're working towards 2 hospitals for the prisons, 1 in the south and 1 up in the north. And the fact of the matter is that we have not come to that yet because of the issue of finances. I think that's one of the areas that we might go in for the private-public and the arrangements. And as I said, our challenge with finance at the time was that they were working on the legal framework, which was sorted out last year. So I'm sure we have to quicken it and see how we can solve those problems. But for now, you can have my way. And I'm happy that I'm getting so many advocates for prison development and reform. So I have good company. And I'll be depending on all of you to work to make good the President's agenda to actually reform the presidency. Thank you.
Honorable Minister-designate, when a question was put relating to feeding grant, then you answered and further mentioned that you are supporting the agriculture sector of the prisons. For them to be able to do more farms and produce foodstuffs, to reduce, other expenditure they have to bear. but you failed to give details of how this has been done. I'm a frequent visitor to some prisons, so I'll be very glad if you can educate me on that. And finally, I facilitated a degree program in consultation with the University of Cape Coast. As I speak, in some prisons, inmates are allowed to undertake degree programs, and it's a novelty. I personally think that we can replicate this in other parts of the country where we have prisons. Do you have any such program in mind so that when people go to prison, they can come out properly reformed? On top of that, I also facilitated a toilet roll factory, Brompton. I'm sure that's come to your notice, which is cited in some prison, also producing toilet roll, and then the inmates are making some money out of this. My overarching concern is, what is your dream of building on reformation at the prisons, and then going forward, ensuring that our prisons, are a place, because the prisons, anybody can go there, become a place that when you go there, it's not so bad as the footage that we have seen. What will you want to be remembered of as Interior Minister who would ensure that at least our prisons were sanitized, all these difficulties were resolved?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, these developments that the Honorable Member has enumerated, I'm aware of it, I'm part of it. The HHS, school organized in Navungo and all that, people have written exams and qualified to go to university, and we are assisting that to go. The toilet roll factory, yes, I'm very much aware. I sent my deputy at the time, the deputy minister, to be part of this. The farming, there are 4 other farms that have been established. Ejura is already, my information is 90%. We have Obuasi, we have Insawam. And the point is that Planting for Food and Jobs gave 5 tractors to support the project and gave accessories for 4 of the tractors. And I know that. And the Director General of Prisons himself is a agriculturist, and he gives me feedback on what is happening. The important thing is that we need to do more. And I totally agree with that. So these innovations are all part of what we're doing, but I think we need to do more. That's why I didn't mention them, but we are very much aware of them. And I don't believe in retribution as a policy or principle in prison, but reformation and rehabilitation. And we are asking that we do get equipment that will help our people re-educate themselves. So that's it.
Chairman, that's my last. Grateful. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Honorable nominee, I say you are looking at your time, former Leader of the House. We will do well if you keep your answers short, I hope. Mr. Chairman, in an earlier answer to a question where he said in 2017, when they advertised, the Council of State invited him over the sheer numbers of persons that have applied to join the service. Was it in respect of the police service or all the services under your ministry?
Honorable Chairman, as far as I know, yes, the police was the one that was the first agency that came up. But when I went there, the recruitment, recruitment was for all the agencies. And the occurrence was across board. That's what it was.
So I wanted to find out, were they suggesting to you or they instructed you by a letter
They did not order me. They raised an issue. I understood it. I empathized with it. I discussed with the leaders, and that was the solution we came up with. As I've said, that was meant to address those two recruitments as far as concerned, and it's lapsed. So that's
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to find out from the Minister that if it is put to you that persons that have graduated SS in 2018 are now in the service, by that time they have not qualified to apply. Meanwhile, you are saying that it is only those who had gone through the electronic vetting and had qualified that were being recruited over the period.
The same question Honorable Ayaga asked.
I didn't say that there wouldn't have been a deviation. I said the policy was to deal with it. You are now carrying it further for me to assure you that happened, that I didn't partake in the recruitment. So if there are any infractions, we could investigate and deal with it.
So, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted him to tell us whether he would like to investigate this.
I would. Even though we're not going to continue with it, but it's still important for us to learn from it, whatever our intentions were, and whether our intentions were met. Yes, I will be.
Mr. Chairman, in an earlier answer with regards to the dress code and some behaviors of police officers, he alluded to the fact that largely he would say that there's discipline within the police service. I just wanted to find out from him, the Criminal Investigation Department, the CID, they are the unit of the police that are not supposed to wear uniform. Am I right?
That is so.
But when they are in operations, what happens? Do they wear uniforms, or do they identify themselves visibly for people to be able to identify them?
Honorable Chairman, what I know is that they don't wear uniform, and if they go, now the operations that come live and all that we send them to go, should they need to do something quickly, I believe that they identify themselves by their ID cards. That's what I know. But as a rule, they are not in uniform.
So, because they are undercover, they are the undercover unit of the police administration, am I right?
Yes, because it makes it easier for them when they are investigating to be able to get into the communities easily without feeling alienated, and allows them to fraternize with the people to be able to get information. If they went there with their uniform, then everybody you ask a question will be on guard. That is my understanding.
So because they are undercover, they are not supposed to be wielding heavy machinery, am I right?
As far as I know, yes.
Are you aware of the anti-robbery police unit of the CID? Anti-robbery unit of the CID?
Yes, I think there should be an anti-robbery unit, yes.
You notice that they don't wear uniform when they are out with that heavy machinery in their hand, AK-47, and all that you can call it. They are not in uniform. Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not aware of that. But I believe to be responsible if they are holding machinery, then they should identify themselves with a uniform. It's better for us. But I'm not aware of that.
I've had cause to complain heavily to, especially in my region, the Asante General Command, and I can tell you the armed robbery that happened in Alaba, one of the popular areas in Kumasi. On Friday, the shop owners actually thought that it was anti-robbery unit that were taking on operation, because they dressed like the way the anti-robbery unit in Kumasi dress. Will you take steps to correct the police administration in the way the anti-robbery unit goes out with heavy machinery with that uniform? They cannot easily be identified, and they virtually terrorize innocent citizens.
I Honorable Chairman, this is a matter that I would like to bring to the notice of the IGP. It's important that I do that. It is very important.
Can I take an assurance on this? Can I take an assurance on this?
I'll raise it. Sure. And you know that. I'll raise it.
Interestingly, this is the same unit that shot and killed 7 of my compatriots. I mean, happily, I know the work. We have worked together, and up to this stage, even though you've given assurance that the docket is still with the Attorney General, I want to find out how long should we continue to wait for justice to be served, knowing that 2 years have elapsed already.
Honorable Chairman, I can only reiterate my commitment, but also to say that when you are dealing with murder cases and you have multiplicity of suspects, you have to be careful and get a good job done. I have been a lawyer in several murder cases where you have multiplicity of suspects. Honorable Chairman, if you don't set it well, everybody will walk. So, from my point of view as a lawyer that I know, I think that a job is being done. But now, I've given you the assurance that I get in touch with the Attorney General and know where we are. And we have worked very well. I've appreciated your contribution all along. And I'll keep you posted as to what I say.
Thank you for the assurance. Mr. Chairman, you remember before the 7 young men who died, there was one incident that I came to the house, made a statement, and you gave assurance that it was going to be investigated by the police unit involving the death of Audu Usman. Can you give us an idea where the case has reached, because we've not still heard anything from the police administration 3 years down the line?
Honorable Chairman, that I'll have to find out. I do not know where it is, but certainly it's something that I'll find out. Since you didn't raise it again, I know you to be a very proactive person. I got the impression that maybe things went on well there, but you've raised it today, and certainly I'll follow it up. I remember I came here to make a statement. Yes.
So that's also an assurance that we can follow up on that.
Sure, I'll follow up on that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I want to find out from the NAMI whether he knows Martin K. Dery. Martin K. Dery. Or is it Dele? Dele, I don't know the pronunciation.
Yes, Dery, yes. I know it's my consequent.
D-E-L-L-E.
It's my consequent, yes.
It is your?
Consequent, yes.
Are you aware that he's on police wanted list? He's on police wanted list.
No. I'm not aware of that.
Yes, he is. I mean, they advertise on the dailies, they send communication to the upper west regions on defrauding by false pretenses.
No.
Reported by one Ananga Negu and 9 others from Kwanzaa. You are not aware of this case?
As well, I'm not aware, but Mr. Chairman, my law firm has represented him in court on 1 or 2 cases. So I need to find, I don't know what I've said, but I don't know he's a wanted person. No, I don't know.
As the head of the police, if given the nod, is it a matter that you'd be interested in knowing the details?
Honorable Chairman, no one is above the law. And like I told you, he has 2 cases in court. What my office is doing is representing him, but certainly not supporting him to be a fugitive or a law. That is not on.
Because an impression is being created that because of his affiliation with you, it is making it difficult for the police to arrest him.
Honorable Chairman, that is absolutely untrue. As far as I know, the gentleman, when I went home for New Year, he was all over the place. And I am not aware that he's wanted by the police. No, I'm not.
Mr. Chairman, in an earlier answer to a question about contracts given to senior police officers, did I hear the minister say he believes just 1 or 2 officers in transition? That's why those things are happening. Is it really what I heard you say? You said there were not many, there were just 1 or 2 officers.
No, what I said was, first of all, the fact that it exists is because we don't have the flexible system that we have in the army. That's the first thing I said. Secondly, I said that is a transitional arrangement dictated by exigencies. And I gave an example that within the last 6 months, 2 officers on contract who we could still have granted contract within the law were not. So the policy is phasing out the transition with the caveat that it doesn't mean that if you see 1 or 2 that exigencies dictate. Otherwise, I'm not aware that we mean it for permanent. No, we are phasing out. So those you see there now, the point is, the issue is what happens when it gets to the end of what they have. I can assure you that except exigencies, they will certainly end.
Mr. Chairman, are you aware that some of them have taken this contract for the 2nd time? So getting almost 4 years and are still on contract, even though from your explanation it looks like the intention was to just transition.
Honorable Chairman, the law is that if you get to 60, you go on retirement except you are granted a contract. The total of the contract periods not exceeding 5 years. That is what it is.
Is it the intention of the minister to exhaust the 5 years?
No, that is why I even told you that the last 6 months, people on contract have gone, even though they hadn't exhausted their constitutionally permissible period. It is not the case. And I've told you that you have my word that we are phasing out indeed, except exceptional circumstances.
Mr. Chairman, are you aware that this is affecting morale in the police administration?
Honorable Chairman, I know that we've done a lot to raise the morale. But if it is on the decrease, and we are facing it up. So I don't think you have to bother too much along that line.
Mr. Chairman, I want to find out whether he's also aware that it's affecting the output of those officers, because if you're on contract and you are hoping to get it renewed to the exhaustive 5 years, obviously the tendency for you not to be proactive, to have to listen to those who have helped you to get a contract is much higher than if you were not on contract, and therefore affect the productivity of these officers, including the IGP himself.
Honorable Chairman, no one that I know has exhausted the 5 years. And that is evidence to you that it's not meant to be permanent. Like I said, the IGP we met was also on contract. And then we have moved from there. But I'm saying that we are. First of all, it's not everybody who has been granted a contract. And secondly, I've told you that the policy now is generally we are not in favor of contracts. And I said the past 6 months, 2 of them are gone.
So, Mr. Chairman, I want to find out from the minister, when he says it's not all that may be considered for contract, is it in terms of rank or region, or what are the criteria that are used to determine for this category we may give them contract, this other category we may not have to give them contract?
Each matter is according to its merit, and I said they are exceptional. Mr. Honorable Chairman, I don't know the issue about several contract persons. Maybe I need to go back and check and see what you are talking about. But I do know that we have created several command positions. Erwin, Canary, private security organizations We are broadening the activities. And I'm saying that yes, if it is a worry, I assure you, it's not going to be allowed to fester. The policy now is phasing it out.
Chairman, I want to find out from the number, whether is it a practice that when people are on contract, when people are on contract, when they have reached the age of retirement and they are on contract, they are still entitled to promotions?
Honorable Chairman, as far as I know, if you are on contract for the period that you are working, you work as an officer, and I'm not aware of any limitation. I'm not aware of that. Because the constitutional provision saying you can work this number, but not beyond that, does not, in my view, state a disability while you are on contract. But again, let me reiterate that I don't know what the fear is. Take it from me that the few who are on contract are facing it.
Do you know a number of officers that was on contract were promoted?
I've said that I'm not aware that when somebody is on contract, for the period that is on contract, he suffers a disability. I'm not aware of that. But what I'm sharing you is that we are facing them out. That's it.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to find out from the nominee whether it's the police council that is in charge of promotion, or is just left to the police command or the other services command to deal with promotion.
Promotions are from the police command. The officers, they have a committee that recommends the promotions. The policy position is this. They seem to have some guidelines that if you work in a particular position for say 4 years or 5 years, in the absence of any adverse, they say, and subject to good behavior, you go to the next one. Our policy is that where people so qualified, promote them. But we do not determine who is to be promoted and who is not to be promoted. They have internal committees that deal with that and bring it up. If it's a senior officers, to police council will discuss it. And then when we've agreed, we recommend it to the presidency. If it's a category that the appointment needs to be done from the presidency. But no one appoints any officer top down, no.
So if a serving officer is Assistant Commissioner of Police and is on retirement, is on contract, and it comes before you as a member of the council that they want to promote him, how do you justify such promotion? Is it not unfair to those who are in the system and are yet to get to the age of retirement, if you consider that promotion?
Honorable Chairman, I'm not aware of a bar to promotion by vacancy. I'm aware maybe a bar to appointment by vacancy. For instance, we have only one IGP. But if it's promotion and you are meant to go to Assistant Commissioner, you go. If you are meant to go to Deputy Commissioner, you go. If you are meant to go to Commissioner, you go. That has nothing to do with somebody not going on contract. The appointment might then be the point that you are making, that somebody maybe would have been director of this, but a person has stayed 1 more year there before she goes. That is accepted. But nobody is denied a promotion because somebody is on contract. No. You should distinguish between promotion and appointment.
And Mr. Chairman, lastly on this, my view is that this is choking the system. Is that how the kind of complaints that you also hear from either ordinary persons associated with the police or officers themselves, that these attitude of keeping people who are supposed to be going home and others occupying the place is choking the system.
Honorable Chairman, I wish my honorable member would tell me the number involved. When I sit down here and think, I don't see them that many. But you might have something that, how many of those are there choking the system? In any case, have my word that the policy is not to give contracts generally. That's the policy. And that's what we're going to present.
Mr. Chairman, I was saying that was the last. But if you ask whether how many I knew, will you be happy to hear some of them and the positions that they are occupying, that ordinarily if they had gone home, others would be occupying? Or he thinks that I should leave it for him to investigate this?
Honorable Chairman, I've made a distinction between promotion and appointment. And I've said that there is no bar to promotion, whether somebody is on contract or not. That's number one. Number two, of course, if the IGP is occupying a position, which is one, and somebody wants to be IGP, fine, you can only have one IGP at a time. We give a contract because the existence of the time allow us to give that. But I'm saying that the policy is to phase it out. But the appointment that you are talking about, I have no quarrel about appointment. Promotion, nobody is denied promotion because somebody is on this. And finally, the policy is phase them out. So that's what I'm saying.
Mr. Chairman, in an answer to an earlier question with regards to the November, whether allowance, whether rationalization, whatever the minister tried to call it, he said that it was to equalize the imbalance between the police and other services with the military. Is that right?
Analogous ranks, yes.
So if you paid it once, what is happening now? Because paying it off once in December doesn't solve the problem, because then it's going to continue.
Honorable Chairman, I just said that from January, we've introduced a 10% kit allowance across board.
And has that kick-start? Are they enjoying it?
As far as I know, has that kick-started? It should kick-start, yes.
Have you found out from the officers whether the January salary is really reflected?
Honorable Chairman, I've seen the correspondence to Control Accountant General. I haven't heard a complaint. I haven't heard a complaint. There's no complaint.
Will you find out whether that is what is happening now?
Well, now that you have told me, it suggests that a man will be paid. I will find out. Yes.
Also, the police escort for MPs. You came to this house graciously in the 7th Parliament and made a statement. Police decisions have been taken, and police MPs were asked to identify persons that they may want to be their escort, and many of them have been transferred to Parliament. Are you aware of the limitations, what that has prevented them from working with their MPs so far?
Honorable Chairman, I have, since we discussed the matter here, asked the IGP to give me a roadmap. That is where I got my figures. That working at 3 per a member of Parliament, we are estimating the number as 800. It's now 124. We would have to raise it to 800. As a result of the number, the status of the police establishment here is going to move from a protection unit to a division. He has given me what the logistical requirements are, number of vehicles more that they need, what accommodation and other things are. Those are matters that I will discuss with finance. What I do not know, if they have come here and they have not yet been allocated to you, I need to find out expressly for me. But I know that this is a roadmap, and it's in that context that they made a proposal that we'll be happy if we could recruit 10,000 a year from the next 4 or 5 years. That has also been put forward for us to see what financial clearance we can get. So I know the roadmap. I'm holding them to the roadmap, but this specific requirement, I do not have. What they have said is that there is, I think, we might need to get them to give us a full report that I'll make available to at least the leadership of the House for us to move forward.
Are you aware that they are not able to deploy them to the MPs because they do not have enough sidearms?
Yes, the request they have includes sidearms and rifles. What happens is that when you have a bodyguard, you provide a sidearm, you train them, you hold a sidearm. If you are traveling out, they will need a long gun. In any case, those who are in the house will be armed day and night. That is part of the logistical proposal that he has brought. That's what I know.
Can you assure this committee that you take the necessary steps to ensure that at least the first stage where they require the firearms could be provided so that members of parliament whose police officers of choice have already been deployed to parliament to start with?
I'll do that as fast as Honorable Chairman. That means that we have to acquire a certain quantity. I'll talk to the Minister of Finance, should I get a nod, and together, the President is in support of the arrangement, we should get it done. So we might be coming here to ask for approvals and what have you. But that is what is on the roadmap.
Mr. Chairman, to Immigration Service, Honorable Nominee, are you aware that there's a lot of complaints within the Immigration Service with regards to placing junior officers above their superiors within the Immigration Service? Well, now to say rank below them. For example, if somebody is a commissioner, and then you have someone who is a superintendent, assistant commissioner, heading a division against their regulation, yet the commissioners are at the regional level, and they now have to take instructions or they have to take directives from these assistant commissioners. Has this come to your notice within the Immigration Service?
Honorable Chairman, I will want a matter to be brought on a case-by-case basis for me to address.
Mr. Chairman, if you look at their regulation, the Immigration Service Act 908 and Regulation LI 2245, precisely 7, that talks about their heads of departments are supposed to be commissioners. I'm sure the nominee is aware of this.
Yes.
And in the absence of a commissioner, the next in rank is supposed to occupy these offices. You are also aware of that.
Honorable Chairman, I have said that promotion is generally okay. Appointment is a different matter. And Honorable, let me just give an example. If you have an officer who does not get a position, my first advice is that we ask why. Because we have had instances of behaviors that could expose the country to danger and the rest of them. So all I can tell you is that promotion, yes, if there are specific cases, please let me see who address it. I would rather that, I don't mind you raising them for us to deal with problems, because maybe if I say something publicly about an individual, it might not be good. But take my word, that bring them forward and we'll tell you what it is.
Honorable Nominee, Honorable Chairman, Honorable Nominee, I'm not even talking about even the promotions. The ranks, I'm not even talking about the promotions. I'm talking about the ranks
Oh, why not?
Their LI is categorical that you cannot head a division within the immigration service unless you are a commissioner.
Honorable Minister, hold on. Are you responsible for operations of agencies under you? You are not.
He's just talking what I know, but I'm not responsible for operations.
I wish you would restrict yourself to your policy, which is assigned to you by law. So
that is so, Mr. Chairman.
Investigate operational matters and advise us later.
So, Mr. Chairman, that's exactly what I was drawing, so whether he was aware. If he's not aware, these are the things that are happening. That the LI is categorical, as you may be aware, that heads of departments must be commissioners. Then you put the commissioners in a region, and then you put superintendents and assistant commissioners as heads of department, and now they write to the regional managers. It's like turning the hierarchy of the immigration service upside down. And this is causing a lot of discomfort within the service. If you are not aware, I hope you will take steps to ensure that the Comptroller General is doing what is right. Can I get your assurance to investigate this and be able to ensure that the right things are being done?
I'm not aware, Honorable Chairman.
I'm saying, can I take your assurance that this will be investigated by you, and if truly it's happening, you get the Comptroller General to do what is right?
I believe that I will let, it's a policy matter, the board, I would let give the information for the right thing to be done. That is not my meat.
Mr. Chairman, Ghana Fire Service, are you aware that graduates that have been duly given steady leave and have graduated and are within the service have not been given opportunity for internal graduate cadet recruitment since 2012? Are you aware?
I'm not aware. But Honorable, the issue is those in progressing and those graduates coming in. Policy must have some equilibrium, but I don't know about what the specific case is.
Since you became the Minister for Interior in 2017, has there been an opportunity for internal graduate recruitment that you know within the Ghana Fire Service?
Honorable Chairman, since I became Minister, I was aware there was a court case. There was a case in court between a group of fire service officers and management. So once the matter was subjugated, I did not get involved in it. I don't know what the status is now. But certainly, if it comes out, I'll draw the attention. I'm sure the board too is there. I don't know.
Are you aware that since the judgment that you were talking of, which happened in June 2020, the court case that you were talking about, the judgment was in June 2020. Management has still not complied to get internal graduates to be able to get into the officer cadet category.
I do not know specifically, but Honorable Chairman, I was talking with the general principle. I do know that in some of the services, there is a tendency to want to exclude fresh graduates from joining them. That policy is contrary to Article 17. We don't agree with it. So I believe that what is supposed to happen is internal progression, no problem, but it should not exclude the fresh people. Beyond that, I do not know the details of it.
Honorable Minister, there were some graduates that have been hanging for over 10 years within and they never got the opportunity, will you, if given this nod, take steps to ensure that in their case, they are not forced to write an exams and internal exams before they get the opportunity to go to the officer cadet?
Honorable Chairman, without knowing the facts, I cannot direct interfere in the professional matter. Let me give an example where I'm a member of the Police Council. In the Ghana Police Service, over the years, there has been a practice of people becoming graduates, some even masters. The problem was allowed to fester. We chose not to allow it to fester. So what happens is that when you then want to deal with the group that you want to grant some amnesty, and there are a number, and the vacancy for a particular year for internal graduate progression is 20, short of getting a way to deal with it, there will be a problem. We have said that we would insist that fresh graduates do come. I mean, you go to school, a mate of yours breaks off at SHS. You go to the university. Then he goes to a service. And then he then says that you who have passed and got a degree, you shouldn't come in because the service should only take those internally. Policy-wise, no. Beyond that, I would only say that I would make sure I draw the attention of the various boards to make sure that the right thing is done and people are not shortchanged. That's what I was saying.
I just want to find out whether you are a member of the Council of the Fire Service.
No, I'm not a member of the Fire Service.
Are you aware that the Council decision to promote one Dery Appiaje 4 steps ahead of his seniors to be
I'm not
as a junior? Is this something that you want to investigate?
No, I'm not aware, but it's not brought to my...
No,
if it's brought
I'm giving you information, and I'm telling you that this happened where a junior officer was promoted 4 steps.
I'm not aware.
Will you want to investigate this to ascertain the veracity, and if it is true, take the necessary steps?
I'm not aware, but if you know that, I think let's do a due process. If a petition is brought to our attention, then we can direct necessary steps to take it to rectify. But I'm not aware of it at all. 4 steps, I'm not aware at all.
Mr. Chairman, I just have Ambrose in the Ammanfi West. There were some gun shootings that led to the death of 2 persons. Samraboy, a town, Samraboy in, Ammanfi West. And the complaint of the police there that their station doesn't even have a bicycle. So they were having challenges in operating and moving. Minister, will you take steps to assist this police station to have means of transport, knowing that they serve the communities and their environs are over 150,000 residents?
I would inform the IGP to take necessary action.
Mr. Chairman, I want to find out from the nominee, during the election campaign, the police pick up with registration number GP 3852 was on social media and largely telecast by most of the networks, conveying party, MPP party faithfuls. And the IGP came to say this was going to be investigated. Are you aware of the status of the investigation, or has it come to your notice as the then Interior Minister?
No, it has not come to my notice. But as you know, I was involved in the electoral...
yeah, definitely. But will you take steps to get the IGP to investigate this and take the perpetrators?
Well, I think you should do the right thing. I wouldn't get involved unless I be suspected of this.
Lastly, the 6th, 7th January, in this chamber, you saw not only military but also police coming into the chamber of Parliament. the military says they are investigating there. Are you also investigating who authorized the police officers into the chamber?
Honorable Chairman, the events of the morning of 7th were really very special. I think even on our part, we need some introspection. I have no difficulty in asking the police to investigate. But Honorable Chairman, the police were in here. You have a detachment of police here. And that morning, they were here. 2 of them were on the stage there. So,
the police officers we have at the police unit, we know them.
May I land?
Those who came in were not from this unit. They were heavily armed.
Honorable Chairman, may I, Honorable Minister, if you have police on your premises, practice would dictate that if they feel overwhelmed, they can call people in. That is not to oust an investigation. But I think you should make that clear, that you have a police detachment here. And if a police detachment is anywhere, and they fear the breach of law anywhere, unlike the other security agencies, they must act. That is not to say I'm going to ask the IGP to investigate it. But, Honorable Chair, who did what is important. But we should also find out what the general situation was. Yes, coming in, investigated. And for that, I'm directing tomorrow, IGP, find out what happened. But I'll be dishonest if as a lawyer and Minister for Interior, I don't tell you this, that the police have a duty that when they see or fear that law is going to be breached, especially there are some of their people here, the normal trend is to call for reinforcement. I've taken an oath to say less or be dishonest. I told you that. Without prejudice to whatever is going to be investigated. And then we might also need to put it in context. After that, there was peace. Was it a coincidence? That should also be investigated. But, Mr. Honorable Chairman, I am for an investigation of the situation. But I think that having taken an oath on my faith, I should say that I believe every lawyer can testify to that basic principle, that a policeman, if he's where there's likely to breach in peace, there's a duty upon him to act. Without prejudice to that, there will be an investigation.
Mr. Chairman, I said that was my last, but I want to just do a follow-up with that.
Okay.
Since you have the code, did you authorize the police here?
I did not authorize the police here, neither could I have.
Thank you.
I was functus official.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, coming in the heels of Honorable Muntaka, the events of 7th January as we witnessed the election of Speaker, to be specific, just at this door, and Mr. Speaker, I'll make the recording available, DCOP Ofori was seen from this entrance here, just where the gentleman is walking here. We just want you to take note, because by practice, the police or the military can only come in if the marshal or the marshal's office feels incapacitated or inadequate, then that can happen. Therefore, take note of it, and we'll be happy.
I totally agree with that, Honorable Chairman, that the marshal is in charge of security here. Don't get me wrong.
The marshal was lying down here.
Push down.
He himself has been pushed down. He was incapacitated, wasn't he?
Honorable Chairman, I'm prepared for an investigation to help us. But, thank you, Honorable.
But I hope that Chairman's comment and you are saying thank you is not justifying the act. That tomorrow somebody should push down the marshal and then you bring in armed forces. And
oh no, not at all. Honorable Minority Leader, I have to respect the committee. And giving me an opportunity to talk, I have made a point that we ourselves need some introspection on our part on some of the activities.
All right, thank you. I'll take you back because in the run-up to the election, police officers smiled. And they smiled with the hope that under your supervision as Minister, President Nana Addo Dankwa as President, there was some salary adjustment. And that's why I was particular about the communication. You see, with salaries, when you pay, tax is deducted. So take it for the record that for the police service, and you can go to their December pay slip, for all intents and purposes, it was salary adjustment because tax was deducted on it. Is that the case, Minister-designate?
Honorable Chairman, my position, I'll reiterate, is I'm aware of the payment. I initiated it. The detail of payment is part of the operational mandate that I'm not part of. All I am saying is, I know the genesis, and I got approval for it. Communication with the police is not my remit, and description challenges are another matter. But what I know is that it was meant to compensate for those analogous officers who were left shortchanged by the rationalization of the army. Beyond that, I can only say that that is what I know. And it wasn't a salary.
Minister nominee, you'll be dashing the hope of police officers who are very confident because, and I would urge you to look for the pay slips for December for the fire service and the police service. To the Ghana Fire Service, these words were used: single spine special allowance. You are a minister for both fire service and minister for police. With police, it was categorical salary adjustment and taxes were deducted on it. So the same communication did not go for the police as well as the fire service. And I dare add that different communication probably went to the prison service and probably to the prison service. Let me end it there. Thank you.
Thank you. I can only surmise what happened in that situation. I reiterate that it was meant as a compensation, nothing else. The differences might be differences in internal style, but I take note of what you have said. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I now refer the nominee to Act 766, in particular Section 31. It reads, exemption from the basic National Social Security Scheme. And it reads, with the indulgence of Chairman Akko, Section 30 does not apply to officers and men of the Ghana Armed Forces and any other person who is expressly exempted by law. Are you seeking an amendment to Section 31 of Act 766? And when should we expect this so that assurance is given that by law, beyond the Ghana Armed Forces, you are exempting the other security agencies? Other than that, what you are doing clearly, even with your declaration that they are under captivity, is illegal and unlawful.
Honorable Chairman, the amendment is to add those other agencies to that list. The Minister for Employment is to initiate, and I can assure you that will be one of the first legislations gone here. Your advice is taken, that is the intention, and it's meant to be Thank you.
Chairman, I'm compelled to run a little commentary because of my previous role as Minister for Employment. What Ghana needs to do, if you recall, Act 766 was passed in 2008. 10 years moratorium was put on it. Subsequently, I came to Parliament in 2014 to seek amendment, National Pensions Amendment Act 2014, Act 883, to further postpone it. So for 15 years, I'm aware that what the state we needed to do to guarantee better retirement benefits for retiring Ghanaian workers, including men and women of the security agencies, was pension unification of pensions. And as you yourself referred to it, you had the police regulations set up a different regime of pensions. Immigration service, they are acquired because their regulations put them under a different entity. The prison, Minister, I'm making a special case for the Ghana Prison Service. They are the worst off. And if you look at associated death post-retirement, you yourself will be concerned at the number of deaths because they just have not enjoyed any benefit because no legal regime was provided for any person within the prison service. So you can even say that police service, they benefited from the regulations, the police service regulations we passed. What will you do to ensure fairness to all the men and women within the security agencies? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I'm happy that the Honorable Minority Leader has actually explained further that before his 15-year extension is through, we will come with the law. But I agree totally with you. And you remember that in all my discourse, anytime I get to the prisons, I complain of some too redundant positions. I think that one is working against their adequate remuneration. And that is why when we talked about the kids allowance, they insisted that it should apply across board. I believe that the nominee, the Minister-designate for Employment, would benefit from your input, and I believe you will work together. We all ensure that we work towards extending this, that in the fairness to go across board. I am committed to making sure that various agencies are actually brought up to relatively.
I'm noting that we should guide against political expediency when it comes to matters of pensions regarding the security services. Already what they take home is not good enough. They retire early, save the Yeyevo case, I hope I get the name right, the one which went to the Supreme Court, and you had extension of their tenure from 55 to probably 60 or 65 years. Now we cannot even guarantee post-retirement income security for them. Now that is related to the extension of contracts. Can you assure this committee that you put an end, because it is a disservice to other young people within the service and other young people desirous of joining the service, that when it is your time is due, Minister, let it be due. Can we have that assurance from you?
Honorable Chairman, I can assure you that the policy, as I have said, moving forward, is to phase out, except